What are they?
Crocodile tongues.
Tongues?
Long, slimy crocodile tongues boiled in the skull of a dead witch for 40 days and 40 nights. And the gizzard of a pig, the fingers of a young monkey, the beak of a parrot, and 3 spoonfuls of sugar. And then let the podcast do the rest.
Good. Good job. Only took 2 takes. Very, very good.
It only took 2 takes.
2
I'm
takes.
sick.
You're the magic man.
I'm the magic man. I have a head cold.
Okay, he's got a head cold. Jesus Christ.
Because I usually, if we do a musical, I try to butcher one of the songs.
Oh, sure. Well,
I felt like I couldn't do. I couldn't do justice to what I think
songs
are
as memorable as these. Yes.
Now,
Which,
this
what you think are what?
This is what's wild. I will admit, this is a movie I watched a lot as a child, so the songs are just baked into my skull. But we had this argument on the Princess and the Frog episode.
Mhm.
I love Randy Newman.
I do too.
He is one of my favorite
He's the best.
musicians of all time.
I mean, look,
One of my all-time favorite songwriters.
exact. I love him. I'll admit he's written a lot of songs over the
Yes.
years, and some might call him his movie work these days.
Now,
a little bit of a
I
paycheck
find
thing,
his
but I love him.
Princess
I love
and the
him.
Frog songs, save for Almost There, pretty forgettable.
Right. I really
And
like
this,
them.
for me, is an example of good Randy Newman story songs, and you seem to have the exact opposite opinion.
Look, I haven't seen this film since theaters,
Mhm.
so I haven't seen it in what is that? It's almost 20 years. 14, 16 years.
Yeah, sure.
And I fired this up and I'm
Mhm.
watching it, and then I was like, damn, this is a musical? I had forgotten. I
Not
had
only that,
no memory of the songs. in
The
this
structure of this movie is pretty much alternating between musical number and action sequence
Yeah.
for the middle 40 minutes. It's got a very odd structure.
movie. It's a 70-minute movie. I mean,
There's 40 minutes of stop motion. I was doing the stopwatch on it.
Mhm.
He goes into the Peach Pit at 20.
Yep.
And then at 1 hour, they land in New York City and he becomes human again.
that sounds right. And it's really over at 70 minutes, and then there's long credits.
75. And then very long credits. Yeah. Yeah. It's just funny. It's like 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 40 minutes stop motion in the middle,
Didn't
long
remember-
in credits.
Just
Yeah.
didn't remember the songs. I'm
With like
sorry.
6 musical numbers.
5 I'm seeing here. Here are the 5.
I guess there's the one that Randy sings over the end credits.
which is called Good News.
I got good news for you in the paper. Gotta read that news.
The other songs I'm seeing listed here are My Name is James,
Uh-huh.
That's the Life for Me,
Yep.
Eating the Peach,
Uh-huh.
and Family.
I can sing all of these songs by heart, word for word, perfect.
Didn't even
We
get,
believe you.
didn't get a Oscar nomination for any of these songs.
It got an Oscar nomination for Best Original Score, Musical, or Comedy.
Did it?
Yes.
Okay.
And it weirdly, when they were splitting score into genres, which they did only for a couple
they
years.
should do again.
But it weirdly didn't get a song nomination. This is the year after Toy Story. Can you imagine
yes.
how hot I was on Randy Newman at this moment in
Can
time?
only imagine.
Yeah.
Listen, here are the 5 song nominees this year. It's actually pretty good.
Okay. 1996.
Yeah, I mean the movie. Well, you know what? Introduce the podcast and introduce our guests, and then we can.
Oh, this is Blank Check with Griffin and David. I'm Griffin.
I'm David.
It's a podcast about filmographies, directors who have massive success early on in their careers and are given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. And sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they bounce like a giant peach on a hill, baby.
Boing bump.
This is a miniseries on the films of Henry Selick. It is called Ben Hosley's The Podmare Before Castmas.
Correct.
Producer gets top billing on this one.
Correct.
People will think, did Ben Hosley host every episode? Was he the only one on mic? And you're like, no, actually, it was Griffin and Dave, and they never got credit.
That's right.
The residuals are pretty good, but they're still bitter about it.
Never shut up about it.
Never shut up about it. This is the second film that Tim Burton produced for Henry Selick.
Yes,
He was
that's
obviously
right.
less hands-on
Second
in this
and
film,
last.
even less than Nightmare.
Yep.
But this movie was certainly pushed as once again from producer Tim Burton.
They're back.
And when this film was released on Blu-ray about 10 years ago, the Blu-ray disc that I popped into my player to watch this last night, it very proudly states on the top of the Blu-ray case, from the director of Alice in Wonderland. That's where we were at that point in time. That the greatest selling point of this movie was...
That it was from, in some vague sense, the guy who made Alice in
I don't even
Wonderland.
remember if they mentioned Nightmare Before Christmas on the
Probably
box,
not.
and it certainly was very big at that point. But this film is called James and the Giant Peach.
Yes.
It has 5 certifiable bangers.
5 rip-snorting pop hits
of Randy the Mandy Newman.
Clogging up the runtime.
I fucking love them. I love these songs.
But this lost Best Original or Comedy score to Emma, Rachel Portman classic.
Yeah.
You've also got Mark Shaman for The First Wives Club, Alan Menken for Hunchback, and Helen Zimmer for The Preacher's Wife. Those are the kinds of nominations we lost when they stopped splitting up the categories.
Men in Black got a score nomination. Remember that? I mean, there's that clip.
The choreographed number. It's so good.
Bring it back. Okay. So I assume that one of the Hunchback songs got nominated?
No.
Fuck.
Which is also rude because that's got a great... You can talk, by the way. You forgot to introduce our guest.
I haven't forgotten to introduce our guest. I'm waiting for her to talk.
You got to speak on mic. Come on.
I was laughing before.
You were laughing.
I was giving a little chuckle.
Let people know that you approve of what's happening.
Wait a second.
Wait a second, what?
It is fucked up that
5 timers?
Hercules didn't get.
David is slowly unfurling the fingers.
I wish I had the smoking jacket I could give her.
This is 5 times main fee. 1 time paywall?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's count them.
The weight.
Avatar, The Weight of Water.
Yeah.
David is weighing his own sweet green hibiscus berry and clover tea.
It's pretty good, actually.
The Weight of Water.
Uh-huh.
Mrs. Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children.
Yep.
A movie that absolutely exists.
Yeah. It's a classic.
Does.
It's a classic.
I can prove it.
Yes.
Sorry, Emma. I just kicked her.
It's fine.
Okay.
Now, this is the sneaky one.
The sneaky
People forget
one.
about this episode. We're not on it.
Oh, Birds of Prey.
That's right.
Girl Gang episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I would say 4th is maybe her most iconic appearance.
This is the best day of my life.
Yeah. And we finally let her be on a good movie, a movie she loves, which is, it was in the pandemic, animated film, Treasure Planet.
Oh,
there
of course.
Go.
Of course. And Emma's beaming.
Ben knows. Ben remembers.
Wow, and here we go. Big 5.
Big 5 for our guest,
Emma Stefanski.
There you
Hello.
go.
The queen
Hello.
of Books and Bugs.
Books and Bugs.
Discussing
Bugs with a Z.
James and the Giant Peach. It was one of these things when we slap Selleck on the spreadsheet, we were like, wow, obviously it was Stefanski.
Yeah, her name just auto-filled in the spreadsheet.
Did you mean to type?
Yeah, right, exactly. Clippy showed up and threw it in there.
Books and Bugs.
Yeah, I mean, geez, I honestly shocked. Good point by you that Hunchback was ignored because I think Hunchback's got some lovely songs. Do you think they pushed Someday, the big ballad?
Right.
And it was kind of like, we're sick of those Disney
Although
ballads.
I do think that one's good. I mean,
I think it's fine.
The problem is the best song in the movie is Hellfire, which they were never going to nominate.
But imagine someone performing that.
Yeah, imagine that at the Oscars.
This was also the era, though.
of sexual repression.
That movie is so good.
But that must, because Out There and Someday are kind of like the big ballady, I guess. Yeah.
But what's it called? King of Fools is a good song. Topsy Turvy. That's what that song's called.
I mean, look, whatever. I guess it's just a sign of Disney fatigue that it doesn't get nominated.
Because they used to get like 3 nominations per category.
100% in those early 90s. Yeah. They would write. They'd get the ballad, the funny song, and the banger. You know, all 3. So now we've got. The winner that year was You Must Love Me from Evita, which is a sort of a stinker.
Okay.
But it was kind of like Andrew Lloyd Webber, fucking Madonna, whatever. I remember Andrew Lloyd Webber got on stage and said, I'm glad The English Patient didn't have a song. And when I was 10, I thought that was funny because The English Patient was cleaning up.
Still funny.
Then you have, it's just Ballad Central.
Okay. Fuck. Is this the year with the One Fine Day song?
Correct.
And
by
you know
Kenny
why
Loggins.
You know why I remember this, right?
For the first time in
One Fine Day.
What is? I was just singing For the First Time in Forever from Frozen in ballad form, which is not what the song is called.
Let
For the First Time.
Do you want to build a snowman?
Why? Tell me.
I forget who performs it live on stage.
You've talked about this on the podcast, but I don't remember what it is.
Whoever performs it.
Oh, it was that they had Luke and Leia as an example of romance.
They do a montage of the greatest movie couples, and they show like Bogey and Bacall or Casablanca or whatever. Right? They're like love story and all these things, the way we were. And then they show Luke and Leia smiling at each other at the end of Star Wars. And the special edition re-release had just happened. It was like burning up the box office. And it was like collective amnesia. Because maybe, Return of the Jedi had not yet been re-released or whatever. I don't know. It was very odd. I think about that all the time. Okay, so One Fine Day, Evita. There's no English Patient song.
No, but you do have I Finally Found Someone from the Mirror Has Two Faces. So that's Barbara.
Sure. Is there a Preacher's
and that
Wife
song was like
song?
that. No,
Weird.
but the Barbara song was written by Barbra Streisand, Marvin Hamlish, and Bryan Adams. They all came together.
Wow.
Their rings glowed.
Yeah.
Like their powers combined. For the first time from One Fine Day, which is a James Newton Howard song that was performed by Kenny Loggins.
Okay.
Because You Loved Me from Up Close and Personal, which is a Diane Warren song.
Yes.
That's a Celine Dion.
Right.
Bang.
Right. That was a
so
real
fucking good.
Yeah, that's kind of
Because
pinnacle.
you love me.
But that's like peak Diane Warren
You
ballad.
were my strength when I was weak.
We sung that middle school chorus when I couldn't speak. You were my
should have won.
Eyes
That
when
should have
I
won because Diane
couldn't see.
Warren's never won.
the way you love me.
But it's in such a nothing movie, like
Yeah.
the Robert Redford Michelle
Right.
Pfeiffer movie.
Right.
And then this actually should have won.
Okay.
That Thing You Do.
That
Which is
is
so
Yeah.
good.
Oh,
That's such
by,
a good song.
by Adam Schlesinger, may
Yeah.
he rest in peace.
Yeah.
Fountains of Wayne.
Yes.
That song is so fun.
The best fake songwriter of all time.
And the movie hinges. That song needs to be
Yes.
a disposable but really
Yes.
catchy
and
pop
that song
hit.
has lasted.
Yeah.
You know what?
Doing
I
that
will say
thing
though,
you do.
do you remember when Lose Yourself won and people were astounded
Yes.
because it was just like, no, it's an Oscar type of song wins.
Right,
It
right.
doesn't matter if the song is good. It doesn't matter if it was a hit.
Right.
Like Ghostbusters will never win the Oscar. Shaft was seen as a surprise when that won,
Right.
but it always goes to the ballad by the pre-established insider in Hollywood.
Well, also, Big Fax Machine was against Ghostbusters. They didn't want people calling. I don't know.
I'm just saying, since
Lose
that,
Yourself's win
there's
is
been the
astonishing.
run of like 3-6 Mafia, Jai Ho winning, like
Great
a lot
song.
of winners that are like, that's just the best song in a movie this year rather than the song that feels most like an Oscar winner.
You were my strength when I was weak.
The Thing You Do should have won.
Yeah.
It's wild that none of these got nominated. 5 certifiable bangers. I love them all. Emma, do you remember when you first saw this film?
James and the Giant Peach.
James and the Giant Peach. I do remember when I first saw this movie. I saw it. We didn't
But
have
you won't
it
tell us.
at my. Yeah, no, that's the secret.
Patreon paywall answer.
I was at one of my childhood friends' homes, and I don't remember which one because it would have had to be them
Mhm.
because we did not have this movie at my house.
Okay.
Sure.
And I think it was the first time I had ever seen a stop motion movie.
Mm,
Plausible.
plausible.
If you hadn't seen Nightmare,
Yeah.
I
I
don't know
had
what
not
other
seen
stop
that
motion
before.
across
Yeah.
your path.
And I don't think I knew what to make of. I mean, I liked it,
Mhm.
but
Did you know the book? Had you read the book?
not at that point. I
Okay.
was really young.
You were
I was
little.
probably like 5.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I saw this film in theaters.
Yeah,
It
same.
was 1996.
Yeah.
I was 10 years old.
I was 7.
I loved the book James and the Giant Peach.
Same.
It was announced that there was a filmed adaptation of it
Henry Selick, Randy Newman.
by the guy
Let's
who did
go.
Nightmare Before Christmas. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm there.
Yeah.
I saw it at the Barbican
Yeah.
in London,
Interesting. Go on.
which
Might
was
circle
where,
back to that later.
which is where I saw.
Pin
We're
that
gonna have a
thought.
conversation about that. Which is where I saw most movies back then, because the Barbican was very good at like they had like a kids like day or I don't know.
Okay.
And thought it was great. Filed away my thumbs up review of it, and weirdly just never revisited it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I never watched it again.
So I'll say this.
I think I was 10. You know, it's like at a
Sure.
certain point I'm getting
Yeah. No, I'll say this. A big Roald Dahl household.
same.
So we had read this book. We had read all the books. We were deep in. B, I'm a big animation nerd.
Yeah.
I'm already invested in the idea of who Henry Selick is, Tim Burton's name being attached to this movie, all of that. Another big element for me is that all the character design from this movie is Lane
Right.
Smith,
Yeah.
who at this point is fucking killing the game with John Sieska, is doing the Stinky Cheese Man,
Hell yeah.
Three Little Wolves, Untold Story.
I fucking
Those books are
oh my god.
unbelievable.
They're so good.
I mean,
I was thinking this watching the movie last night. Fucking, you were talking about like your daughter's favorite books,
yeah, Brown Bear, what are you seeing?
right?
Which is a little dramatically
How excited are
inert,
you going to be when you get to read like Stinky
Stinky
Cheese
Cheese
Man,
Man.
like shit that's like fucking
Well-
got some juice to
Well,
it?
the whole thing with Stinky Cheese Man was it was like Jack and the Beanstalk. What a load of crap! And you were like, "Can he say that?" Like, you know, like, Red Riding Hood sucks, you know. And you're like, "Oh my god!" But
But
then
also,
they
like,
are
the-
actually
Yes.
wonderfully drawn and clever
yes,
and funny.
Lane
Yes.
Smith has this incredible design style. He also did the Time Warp Trio.
Yep.
Mm.
So he's a big figure in my life at this point. But most importantly, the big thing is my brother's name is James. This movie was fucking huge in our household for that reason. We read the book early because it was like, James,
if there
that
was
book
just
has
a movie
your
with
name in it.
James in it, it was like, we're there.
I cannot tell you how much this seemed to resonate.
Okay.
And it's like, his name is James. It's a very common name. It's not like I found a movie with Griffin in the title.
Right.
But he was just like, that's my movie. We saw it in theaters. We loved it. We had the soundtrack. We listened to it all the time.
I mean, perfect film for kids too. It's short.
Yes.
It's simple.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. It's got animals in it. You know.
But this movie was big for me.
And
Yeah.
it
And I
apparently
still,
has the best soundtrack of all time.
yeah, it's got the 5 best songs ever written for a movie. But yeah, I still I'll watch this movie every couple of years just to test it, just to check. I'll go, still
Keep
good,
the channel open.
still good. I love it. I think it's like an incredible technical achievement, obviously. But I also think this film is it's interesting in a lot of ways. It is like an interesting sort of semi-first check bounce for him.
Yes.
And that I think for a lot of people, this movie is like too dark and unpleasant.
Huh. Interesting.
That's why we didn't have it at our house.
You read the
You think
reviews from the time.
it was too nasty?
My parents were probably just like, absolutely not. No, this is creepy.
But I think in a certain way, he's the only person to adapt Roald Dahl and get that totally right.
Yeah.
But but I would say he still is chilling it out a little bit, because the thing in the Roald Dahl book, which I've read a million times, was one of my favorites. I read them all a lot.
Yeah, same.
Is that like the craziest part is when the peach rolls over
Yes.
Mrs. Spike and Mrs. and Sponge and Aunt Spiker. And they're like, bump, and they're like, hell yeah, she's dead. And then there's another bump, and they're like, her too, 2 dead bodies.
Yes.
And then we just move on.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was just like, God damn, they're dead.
But they're so mean and grotesque looking.
I was cheering for it, but in this movie, they live.
You read reviews from the time that this movie came out, and people are like, the first 20 minutes of this film are so repellent. I cannot believe anyone would show this to children.
Well, because I guess it is the Roald Dahl thing of like, he does love freaks.
Right. But they're like,
mean freaks.
this is so grotesque and mean.
Right.
It is torturous.
That's funny. Don't remember feeling that way. I guess
No,
yeah,
I was
90s,
so into it, but it does.
know.
It's the fairy tale thing. Like it feels like Grimm's fairy tales. It feels like all the Roald Dahl books, where it's like you start from a place of real sorrow, real ugliness.
Mhm.
There's something you have to escape.
When did you first read the book, Emma? What do you think of Roald Dahl?
I was so, yeah, I was
You love
100
his politics.
hundo%. Yeah.
Hate his books. Love
I don't
his
really think
personal
he
opinions.
has said anything or done anything wrong.
No, whatever. But like, yeah.
The woke
he's-
mafia has come for him now.
No, look, he's one of my favorite anti-Semites. If I have to rate them as someone who just
Sure, if like point a gun at me. Come on, do
Right.
you like a few? I'm like,
one
yeah.
of my favorite
I thought
guys who
some
would
of them were pretty good.
hate
I don't
me
like the
by my
anti-Semitism,
birth.
but yeah,
right.
I feel because James and the Giant Peach is his first real book.
Yeah.
Like he'd written a
Wow,
couple
I always forgot
before
that. Yeah,
but
okay.
that is his hit
Right.
that established. And Charlie and the Chocolate Factory follows that.
Because Stefanski, you were pulling up the illustrations from the original book, and I
Oh,
forgot that this
yes.
is one of the ones before what's his usual guy's name?
Quentin
Quentin
Blake.
Blake
Quentin
comes in
Blake.
later. Who
Yes.
is great. I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's
Also
got a
very
distinctive
grotesque.
style. Yeah,
A
right.
king.
He's got a great inimitable style.
Yes. A
But
perfect
this is
fit.
right. This is before that.
I-
It's illustrated by someone else, Nancy
Nancy.
Burkert.
Uh-huh.
Sounds
Sounds right.
the illustrations you showed us are a terrible fit
They
for this
are
book.
really, I mean, well,
And I remembered that, like when you showed me, I was like, right, yes,
Yeah.
I remember
the,
looking at that.
the first image is really frightening, which is of James holding a cat. And you see his head. His head is very skull-like, and his eyes are completely black. I don't know
He
if this is just the transfer of
No, I think
this
that's
into
what-
a PDF. or
I
that's
think he
actually what
looks
it
like
looked
the Renesmee robot
Because Quentin Blake
that was cut out of Twilight.
He did eventually draw
Yes.
Right.
an
This is the
edition,
thing. I
Look
definitely
which
at
looks
them.
cool.
had that edition.
They're
You
so
know,
cute.
looks nice, but it
the
is
Quinn
not
Blake fit
his
was just
OG.
such a good. His style was such a good fit for Roald Dahl that I think retroactively they went back and they were like, you have to convert every one of these books. You are the visualization of Roald Dahl.
I wonder what his first was, where he actually.
Right. Because when I'm reading these in the 90s, the Quentin Blake versions are the versions that are in widest circulation at
Yeah.
that point. Yeah.
I definitely didn't have the edition with these illustrations in it that I'm looking at now.
I think I did. Okay, wait. I'm trying to find. Okay, the first book he worked on with him was The Enormous Crocodile in 1978.
A minor work.
A minor work, and then Uncle Oswald, and then The Twits.
Oh,
Twits,
the
one of my
Twits.
favorites.
The
I love the
Twits.
Twits.
I
best.
love The Twits so much. The
Yes.
Twits is
That's grotesque. That's
truly
horrifying.
grotesque.
Yes.
Right? I remember that's the one where Dahl, that's like, fuck, what's like a good filmic example of this? Like, Von Trier doing Antichrist or something where he's just like, there's no fun in this one.
It's like I spit on your grave.
Yes, it's like it's just two disgusting freaks at war.
Yes.
There's no sympathetic characters entering this narrative.
Usually, the main character would be the child who is the ward of the Twits, and at some point the child escapes them and they get their comeuppance. And instead, the Twits is just them being miserable to each other, and there's no child.
Well, the animals get them in the end, kind of.
Yes.
I was looking this up because I was thinking, I was, probably pretty sure that the books would come up at some point.
Yes.
And I was obsessed with this book. I think because I had never, ever read anything like this. The Twits.
They keep on trying to adapt the Twits. I know John Cleese was trying to do it for a long time, and then he chose to become a twit.
It's truly a twit, yes.
Right. But then even like a year or two ago, I got an email about a Twits animated voiceover audition, which I think now got canceled in the recent wave of Netflix animation cancellations. But Netflix bought the Roald Dahl library.
Right.
And is now all in on that.
The Twits is legit 87 pages long.
Yes.
It's in and it's out.
Yeah.
Yes.
After that, George's Marvelous Medicine.
Okay.
And then that late run of like Dahl's kind of like masterpieces, BFG, Witches, Matilda. Like,
when does he do Great Glass Elevator?
That's earlier. That's before.
Okay.
That book is absolutely bananas. That book doesn't make a
so,
single lick of sense.
It's so funny that Wonka is so huge and that everyone's like, we can remake it. We can do it on Broadway.
Chocolate Factory.
We can do a prequel.
Chocolate. Right. Prequel, fine. Yeah, musical, whatever.
We are never going in that fucking elevator.
No, he didn't. He didn't go in any elevators. Nope. He didn't go to space. He didn't meet any vermicious nids.
And both the Burton and the Mel Stewart end in the Great Glass Elevator, and there has never been a discussion about continuing either of those stories.
Yes. But so that is when Blake entered the picture in the middle. But then he eventually went back and he did the early ones. It goes Peach, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The Magic Finger, which is cute.
Yeah.
Fantastic Mr. Fox, Great Glass Elevator, Danny the Champion of the World, which was a huge one for me. I was obsessed with that book as a kid.
What about Boy? When does Boy come out?
Well, okay, so Boy, I've got to switch over to a different
memoir,
one, which I was also obsessed with.
Yeah.
Boy was amazing. That's 84, so that's pretty late.
Yeah.
That's in between Witches and The Giraffe and the Pelican.
Yeah. That's another one I love.
Giraffe.
It's wild how hot he was at the end.
That's the thing, he had kind of a late in life like masterpiece. But Boy, I was obsessed with all the boarding school stuff and like I don't know.
Why would you relate to that?
I didn't go to boarding school.
Okay.
I think I just found boarding school to be like a lot of like it's the Harry Potter thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's so enchanting to imagine going to somewhere, even though in Boy he's like it was fucking tough. Like it was hard to go to boarding school.
The fucking Matilda movie, by the way.
Which one?
The new Matilda musical film
on Netflix, right?
Right, which is being released theatrically everywhere else. I just found out.
Yeah.
It's like a Sony film that Netflix only bought in the States.
Sorry.
It just sucks.
Yeah.
It's like going wide in the UK, I think, this week when we're recording. And it will come out on Netflix 6 weeks from now and be talked about for 5 minutes.
I completely forgot about this.
Yeah, I mean, Netflix emailed me being like, hey, are you going to London Film Festival? And I was like, no, what? I'm not. And they were like, we have Matilda there. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let me know when I can watch that, I guess. I didn't know you had that. It's about to get
a wide theatrical release there. It got good reviews. Yeah, Netflix has bought into the Roald Dahl library, which is funny because the majority of the Roald Dahl adaptations have struggled.
He's tough to do.
He's very tough to do.
And yet, I like most of the movies.
I do as well.
I love The Witches, the Rogue movie.
Yes.
And I love the Zemeckis movie.
One of his best.
I really like the DeVito Matilda.
Incredible.
All of these movies are slightly sanded down from the books.
Yeah.
They always, like the Rogue movie is absolute freak show shit, but then has the happy ending.
We both like Burton Wonka more than most.
Yeah, although I'm not like, whatever. Yeah. That's a mixed bag. The Fantastic Mr. Fox is lovely.
Yes.
The Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
BFG, could take or leave that one. Emma.
F.
Weigh in.
J.
Yep.
Actually, I don't think I ever saw it.
The Spielberg BFG?
BFG? No, I never saw
okay.
them.
Do you remember falling into a deep sleep in a movie theater once? Because that might have been when you saw it.
You might have watched it every night.
I did.
But what dolls do you like? What doll movies do you like, if any?
Oh, I mean, I was just going to say I did a school project on the BFG because everyone was like, you have to do it because you're tall.
Oh, Emma cursed being tall. She was a tall child.
Tall girl.
She's Netflix's tall girl.
Netflix bought your rights.
You
as well.
were once Netflix's tall girl to a Halloween party at my suggestion. I want credit for that.
You did that.
You were like, I need a last minute costume. And I was like, bitch, just print out Netflix on a piece of paper, hang it around your neck. You're Netflix's tall girl. You did it. This joke is good for 2 weeks.
Yeah, you really timed out on the window on that one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Some people did get it. I didn't have to explain it to every single person at the party.
Did they make like 3 of those?
Tall Girl. They did 2.
They made a sequel, right?
I did not watch the second one. Sorry.
You did watch the first one though, and it was.
I did.
She was like, "Some people are normal, not me. I'm tall."
I wrote a thing about it, which was basically like this movie drove me crazy because she's like bullied for being tall.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens to you when you're a tall girl is that everyone's like, "Oh, I wish I was tall," and meanwhile you're like in hell.
Right.
Sure.
It's not it's not like people are like, "Hey, nice job being tall over." I don't know how you bully a tall person.
Yeah.
Hey,
You can't.
You got long legs.
Do you have to duck to get through a doorway?
Right. I was just
jerk.
jealous all the time. I was never mean to a tall person. I mean, I of course believe that tall lives matter. This is my
Thank you very much.
stance.
I mean, pants shopping.
Oh my God! Don't even get me started.
I mean,
I could do a whole this blank check length episode.
Well, hold on.
About
Let's
that.
save that for a spinoff show. We don't want to give that away for
Tall
free.
podcast.
Wait a second. Wait a second. David, where did you pluck that name from?
hold on. Let me
BFG
just
is
check.
tall. It's funny. I mean,
Check to make sure that isn't copyright.
the big
BFG
friendly
is
giant
tall.
is tall, but he's better known as for being big.
Yes.
He's not the tall friendly giant.
No, he's not the TFG.
Even though he is tall.
Yeah,
I'm
he
not
is.
gonna
He's very
lie.
tall.
He's tall and he is slender.
Okay, unfortunately, there is a tall podcast.
Is there really?
No.
God damn it. They're always one step ahead. Maybe we can buy them out.
Off the cuff ramblings from a copywriter in Eastern Europe. He got there first.
That sounds juicy as fuck. I gotta be.
Is the guy's name tall?
He's the tall writer.
Oh,
Genre
boy.
is marketing.
He must have been so
I think we
thrilled the
can
day
maneuver
that Michael
around this
Crichton died.
fucker.
He must have been ecstatic. That's so quick to jump on that. But yes, this book was very big in my household because we loved Roald Dahl and James liked hearing his own name. And then we saw the movie and we were amped. And this is one of those movies when I got really into box office a couple years later and Box Office Mojo existed and I could scan through the history of every weekend and whatever. Where I was like, that movie was a huge hit, right?
You were like Emma with Treasure Planet, where you were
Truly.
like $100 million opening weekend.
I thought
right?
everyone knew these songs.
Right, everyone saw it. Right, yeah.
Right. They were like under the sea level earworms.
Right.
I'm flummoxed by the fact that the three of you don't care for the music. I thought this was a huge,
I like the music.
Yeah, Emma likes the
music's
music.
good.
She's with you.
Sure.
That's all I find me.
Yeah. Da, 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 da. Love it. I love it. I think all these songs are great. But yes, I thought this movie was a bigger hit. I guess I must have known at some point, well, they stopped letting Henry Selick do this.
Right. I mean, it is. I feel like a few years later, this would have been a bigger hit.
Mm.
I think it is a
Sure.
good sign of like there actually was only so much space for a movie this odd in the kids zone in the 90s. Nightmare did better than this.
Yeah.
But even Nightmare was not like some colossal sensation
No, and
initially.
I think there are two things going on, right? One, this is coming out like 3 years, even a little bit less after Nightmare.
Yeah.
So Nightmare has come out sort of like was an okay hit, but the second wave of like Nightmare Mania has not fully taken off yet.
That was like late 90s, right?
Right.
Yes.
Where like Corpse Bride did bizarrely well for how nothing that movie is.
Do you like Corpse Bride?
I do.
Do you love it?
No.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But
It
like,
was a
It looks beautiful.
it was a big
looks
hit
nice.
because at that point it was like 10, 15 years out from Nightmare and people were like, yeah, we should have fucking been there when Nightmare came
I
out.
saw Corpse Bride in college, and me and my friends were all we were
Right.
like, well, it's fucking Nightmare 2, this
Right.
thing. Yeah, that's why we got to see it.
I even think Peach like coming out in like 98 might have been
sure.
picking up a little bit more of that heat. The other thing is this comes out fucking 3-4 months after Toy Story.
Yeah.
There is that thing where it's like Disney Renaissance is going huge. Then they're like, we should branch out and do other stuff. Let's make a stop motion film. Let's make a CGI film. And Nightmare does okay, and Toy Story is a phenomenon.
Right.
And at the same time, the Disney Renaissance movies are starting to peter out a little bit.
Right.
So they're just all in on Pixar. If you're them, if you're Eisner especially, you're like, why are we going to make a third one of these? They take forever and they seem a little niche.
Yeah.
Whereas we've cracked the code with Pixar.
It makes sense. And it's like, look, it's not like CGI is easy.
No.
But stop motion is so involved and so complicated. And this movie, like, you can feel the limitation. Like, you can feel like them trying to save money everywhere, right? Like in all the live, like the sets are quite small.
There's 40 minutes of stop motion. That is the thing that's really clever about this movie.
It is
because to a certain degree, I was surprised that he was able to get a film out in 2.5 years after Nightmare.
Right.
Just because usually animation with development cycle and everything is 4 years.
Right.
And this is the most laborious process. And the answer is he essentially had to make a 40-minute short film and then do live action around it.
I forgot how much of this movie is live action.
Yeah.
I did too.
I was kind of waiting for the beginning part to end. I was like, all right, he just got to get into that.
It's 20 full minutes.
It's quite long.
Yeah.
And I had forgotten like that there was a kid in this movie.
Yeah.
I'd really forgotten everything about this movie. I remember there was a giant peach.
Sure.
So give me some credit.
Partial credit.
Hey, David.
Yeah, what's up, Ben?
We got to talk about a sponsor.
Okay, that's fine. That's normal. We do that all the time.
Got a sponsorship from Marlowe.
Well, Ben, I've got a question for you.
What?
Are you tossing and turning? Has it got you feeling tired?
It does. I'm actually, I don't know if you can tell, I'm extremely tired.
Well, you should probably invest in your bed rest. Yeah, our friends Marlowe, the Marlowe pillow. This is a pillow that's an all-in-one solution for nighttime concerns like overheating or neck pain. But it's from our guys at Brooklinen, our buds.
Oh my God, Ricky, right? Is it Ricky or is it Vicky?
Rich and Vicky. Rich and Vicky. So if you combine them, it's Ricky. Yeah, they've got over 8 years of experience in the sleep space. They got over 100,000 5-star reviews for their sheets and their comforters and all that. And they saw that people are struggling with pillows, with overheating and confusion about firmness levels being the biggest concern. So they have made Marlowe the super pillow, okay? It's got these unique zippers, so you can customize it. You can make it soft or plush. You can make it dense and firm. You can put it somewhere in the middle.
So you can curate your own pillow experience, which I'm all about curation.
You love to curate. Well, it's got gel-infused chopped memory foam, zipper gussets, breathable mesh, NASA technology.
I'm sorry, yeah, I just am seeing here NASA, that's space.
That's space. This pillow is so good, it could go to space. But instead you get to have it, and it's got a 2-year warranty and a 365-day return policy. So how do you like them apples?
I love them apples. But David, how could I get one of these pillows?
Well, now is the perfect time to invest in your rest with Marlowe's biggest sale of the year is happening now. Listen, after the sale, you can save any time at marlowepillow.com with code blank10 for 10% off. That's marlowepillow.com. Code blank10 for 10% off your purchase today.
We can dig into the dossier, but the genesis of this movie is really Joe Ranft, who we talked about a lot in the Nightmare episode and was just a sort of legend of 90s animation across the Pixar films, the Disney animated films, and these stop motion Selig films, among others. He's just sort of like, he was the best animation story artist of his generation, who everyone thought was going to eventually become a great director.
He was also the voice of Heimlich.
Voice of Heimlich, voice of, I'm forgetting some of the other characters. Voice of Wheezy, the penguin, in Toy Story 2.
I believe he's the clown in one of my favorite movies of all time when I was a little kid, The Brave Little Toaster.
Yes.
Which is a movie he worked on.
He was a big guy behind Brave Little Toaster.
That movie's fucked up.
Yeah, that movie's fucked up.
You seen Brave Little Toaster?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think around Brave Little Toaster time.
One of the scariest movies I've ever seen.
Scary.
Around Brave Little Toaster time, he goes to Disney and says, I think there's good movie potential in James the Giant Peach.
Yeah, which, like, no shit, buddy. This is what's so weird to me. That they had to sell people on, like, hey, that bestseller from the most famous children's author who ever lived, think we should make a movie of it?
It used to be so hard to convince studios to make movies based on intellectual property.
But I feel like at Disney also, it was like, is it a 1,000-year-old fairy tale?
Right.
Like, because it's like, if I say Cinderella everyone on Earth has heard of
Yes,
Cinderella,
right.
right? James and the Giant Peach, they're like, what did it sell? 100 million copies? I don't know.
Flash in the pan.
Right. Exactly.
That fad might be over by the time the movie hits. Truly, it felt like, even like Batman, they're like, Batman's only been around for 60 years. He might not last by the time we get that film in multiplexes. But Joe Ranft is the one who pushes this really hard.
Roald Dahl.
Okay.
Let me give you some. Let me give you
Hated
some
Jews. Thought they were
All
weak.
right.
I say this because I'm Jewish.
Just look it up,
and I
guys.
hate that he
It's unfortunate.
would have hated me.
He's a best-selling author.
Mm-hmm.
He's a relatively successful screenwriter. He wrote "You Only Live Twice."
Yes.
He wrote a bunch of like Hitchcock Presents episodes.
Yes.
I think.
Does he get a credit on the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or the Wonka movie?
You mean the Gene Wilder?
Yes.
He gets the screenplay credit on
Right.
it, although I think he largely did not like that movie,
Yes.
and of course, famously wanted Spike Milligan,
Yes.
who is like a legendary British comedian, but was not exactly like the kind of Hollywood A-lister, Like,
No, he wanted nastier. I mean, and people still, so much of that movie's legacy is, wow, Gene Wilder's so much darker in that movie and scarier than I remembered.
Have you ever seen that clip of Spike Milligan getting like a message from Prince Charles?
No.
It's in like one. Have you heard? You know who Spike Milligan
Yeah.
is, right? He's a very famous old British comedian. And Prince Charles loved him,
Okay.
right? And so it's one of these like he's.
And he was comedy partners with Dudley Moore?
Yes, he was part of the Goons.
Yes.
Not Dudley Moore. What's it called? Peter Sellers.
Right. The Goon Show. Right? Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah, the Goon Show. So it's Peter Sellers and Harry Seacombe.
Okay.
And it's one of these old fucking salutes to Spike Milligan things.
Yeah.
It's in the 90s. He's old as shit.
Sure.
And Jonathan Ross is like, and Spike, we've got a message for you from, the Prince of Wales himself. And he starts reading this letter that the Prince of Wales sent in. That's like, I always used to love listening to you on the wireless. You're so funny. And Spike Milligan goes, oh, that groveling bastard. And everyone loses their minds.
Wow.
It's so funny.
Wow.
The whole British audience is clearly just like melting. And Jonathan Ross is like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm literally reading something with like the royal seal on it.
That's incredible.
It's so fucking good. Anyway, Google that if you ever want to watch
Sure.
Something funny. But anyway, Roald Dahl had just not been adapted for film, right?
Well,
apart from Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
I guess The Witches.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it's mostly like there's like that Danny Champion of the World TV
Sure.
movie. There's that BFG TV movie.
Yes.
But yeah, there is The Witches. I forgot what The
Right.
Witches. But that's it.
Yeah.
And Joe Ranft, as you say, was championing this within Disney, but Disney thought it was too weird.
Yeah. And it's a very picaresque narrative. There's not an obvious movie shape to it.
This is true. And one might say that about the film.
I like the solution they came up with,
Sure.
but sure. Yes.
It's disconnect. Here's Selleck. It's episodic. It's disconnected. It's got a dreamlike quality. Disney just thought it was too weird.
Yeah.
I think that's so dumb. Listen to this, Emma.
I'm listening.
There's a giant peach.
Yeah.
A boy goes inside it.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of magic animals in
Yeah.
it. The peach rolls around and
Yeah.
they have adventures. I'm
That's
just like
right.
sold. Sounds good.
Right, he's a sad boy with mean aunts, and he meets nice friends who are big bugs.
It's like
They travel.
it'd be one thing if like he goes
Emma's
into the peach and
nodding.
who's in
This
there
is
and it's
all I
like
want.
Yeah.
famous British philosophers. I'd be like, okay, tough sell. It's like, no, it's magic bugs.
Yeah.
Cool.
And all of them have like a bit.
They all
Each
have
of them
a
has a
thing.
very
Have a little thing
clearly
that they do.
defined.
Much like actual bugs.
And then so Selleck, has made Nightmare. So he's
Sure.
got a proof of concept here, right?
And at this point, basically, the thing has just sort of kicked around Disney for like 5 or so years, never really gaining traction. At some point, they hired someone to write a screenplay, and they weren't sure if they were going to do it hand-drawn or live action, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a hand-drawn version of this movie that's cool as well.
Sure.
But it does make sense for stop motion. Bugs
Right.
make sense for stop motion.
I love the
Yeah.
bugs in stop motion.
You love the bugs?
I love them.
You love the bugs?
Look, we're going to this is going to be 30 minutes of the episode. We're getting to
gotta
this.
talk about the
That's
bugs.
all I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here waiting for you guys to be done.
But
with
they go
this.
through even at some point they
facts.
go the whole thing is stop motion. It's live action all the way. It's live action, only the bugs are stop motion. He's live action inside the peach. They finally get to the solution of the easiest and cheapest way to make this movie is it's 40 solid minutes of stop motion in the middle. The boy has to become stop motion. You do live action bookends.
But another thing for Selleck, I think, is he doesn't want his studio to close up.
Yes.
They're wrapping on Nightmare, and he's just like, I need something.
Yes.
I need to pitch something so that we're just continuing on with work and we're continuing to everyone together.
Did you read Bilge's Lilo and Stitch piece that came out this week?
Yes.
That was excellent for Vulture. If people want to carbon date when this episode was recorded.
Doing oral histories of early 2000s underrated Disney movies. Yeah. Yes.
I like it. Bilge is like, has the exact taste in movies that I do. But they're saying in that piece that like the magic sauce of that movie was that it was the brief period of time where they set up a satellite animation studio in Florida.
Yeah.
And they largely did that so that there would be a functioning animation studio that Disney World attendees could see and feel like they were visiting where the movies were made.
Right.
But the main movies were still getting made in Hollywood. And some of the smaller projects got punted to Florida. And that was like the last Florida project basically before they shut it down. And they're talking to a lot of the artists who worked on the movie and like where it came out of and the sense of collaboration, camaraderie, all this sort of stuff, and asking like, will there ever be a hand-drawn movie like this? And they're like, the problem is like at that point, that movie's coming out of people who've been working together for 10 years. There was like a sensibility. There was a studio.
It's like a cast iron pan that's been seasoned, you know?
And they're like, Netflix can invest in one of these movies, but the way you get to Lilo and Stitch is it's the fifth one you make.
Right, you keep generating. And it's the Pixar thing
and
too.
I think, it becomes a simple business proposition. As much as Selleck says, please don't shut down my studio. To Disney, it's like, you've put the money into building this thing. It's kind of a waste if you only have those costs amortized across one film. It's cheaper now that you've hired the people, you've rented the studios, you've built the equipment to keep this going, especially if the hope is, and I think this is that period where it's like, we got to find a new satellite studio, we got to find another branch of animation. Pixar ends up being it, but like, could we just have them working continuously and giving us a new stop motion film every 3 years?
The other thing, of course, that Selleck has going for him is that Tim Burton is still involved. He's interested in the doll book.
Slapping his name?
Right. So Selleck is hoping the exact same thing will happen where because Burton's involved, Disney won't mess with him. Burton will be the force field because Disney wants to be in the Burton business.
Yes.
And so maybe that will happen. Now, what ended up happening was Burton was not really involved in this movie at all, and Selleck felt like, ignored by him.
It was truly a name slap.
Right.
And nothing past that point.
Right.
And I think Disney was starting to count the beans. There was a Selleck interview he did just recently talking about Wendell Wild, but also he gets into Shadow King. I mean, stuff we'll talk about in future episodes. But was saying, the thing with stop motion is it's expensive, but it's actually on average less expensive than a lot of other forms of animation, partially because they keep the scale of them down. But he's like, the whole thing is they end up costing less than most of the other animated films, and they just basically make back their budget when they come out, but they remain profitable for a long time. They have a long tail, and you need to sort of have a big picture vision of them.
Right.
Because I even think the Leica films have performed similarly. Coraline's the only one that was like a proper hit when it came out. But I think all those films have done well over the years.
They do well.
So I think they're just like, will you give us $40 million to make another one of these? That's half or a third of what your other animated films cost.
Steven Spielberg and Danny DeVito are trying to get the rights to James and the Giant Peach.
Right.
They get fended off by Selleck, and of course DeVito goes on to do Matilda instead.
Right. And I mean, Spielberg ends up doing BFG 20 years later, but had wanted to do it for so long.
He ends up doing what?
The BFJ.
Thank you. So basically, Burton though helps Selleck get this and then fucks off.
Yeah.
Selleck's quote: "Tim helped set up the film, and after that had nothing more to do with it. He took a huge amount of money, gave me no protection. I don't think he even read the script. Tim's not the reading kind of guy. He usually watches some old Mexican horror films or Curse of the Bigfoot and gets inspired by that." So it's just like, it starts off with him being like, look, he helped me get it. And he's like, look, the fucker can't even read. He's just watching garbage on television.
I will say this. As we
Henry Selick's a prickly fella. Obviously.
As we do this miniseries,
he's a bit of a prickly peach.
Well, yes. As we do this miniseries and we dig into why there have been such long gaps in Henry Selick's career, the big thing I keep on hearing from people who want to tell me things off mic without citing them directly, is the man just has zero bedside manner whatsoever.
Not much of a filter.
It's the number one thing I hear. It's not like, oh, secretly there's this horrible thing about him that's never spoken. There's not like some horrible, like traumatic, monstrous thing. It's like the guy truly only knows how to speak in terms of art and is not someone who knows how to deal with people in a friendly way whatsoever. Is very blunt about everything.
It's what you said. We were talking about like that animators are either living cartoon characters.
Yes.
Or they are these weird clockwork people who are like not very good at interacting socially.
Right. And like I think someone like Pete Docter is like that.
Like Clockwork Man?
No, is quiet, like
he's
internalized.
Reserved.
Yes, Clockwork Man. Yes. But in a way that is clearly like sweet, attentive, sensitive.
He's not abrasive.
You have to pull it out. And someone like Lasseter is more human cartoon.
Big cartoon.
Right. Selleck is like a quiet, intense man. He's like the Stanley Kubrick of animation.
He looks like a Selleck puppet.
Mm-hmm.
He does.
He's this like thin, wizened guy with a beard.
Now he's got this very long goatee.
Yeah. So Selleck basically, as you say, they have this idea of like, we're going to do sort of live action around the stop motion, but the live action can have this very stylized set.
Yes.
So it kind of preps you for the stop motion.
Yes.
Like you're kind of already in the sort of visual headspace.
This is wildly stylized live action.
It's very strange and expressionistic,
once again,
which is good.
Once again, it is the only movie to me, the live action segment.
I think it would suck if it was like set in a fucking regular ass neighborhood and then he goes in the peach and all that shit's happening. It's better this way.
The live action section of this movie for me is the only doll adaptation that looks like doll to me, which isn't to say it looks like Quentin Blake. It looks like how the books feel in your mind's eye when you're reading them. More successfully for me than any other doll adaptation. And I think the stop motion stuff is good as well, but because it's Lane Smith and his design sensibility becomes like a slightly different artist.
Is this the best doll adaptation?
I think there's an argument that it might be.
Is it? Emma?
I think I would say that.
Would you take it over the Gene Wilder?
I mean, you like Gene Wilder less than
I don't like
right. I like that movie a lot, but I think in terms of just actually putting Roald Dahl's spirit on screen.
I'm not even a huge Wes Anderson person, but I might take Fantastic Mr. Fox.
I prefer this to Fantastic Mr. Fox.
He prefers it.
But I think I rank Fantastic Mr. Fox lower in the Wes canon than a lot of people.
I don't know. Yeah, there's an argument.
That's another one. Selleck was going to direct Mr. Fox with Wes.
Yeah.
And it became a Life's Too Short thing.
Yeah.
For who?
Wes.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of a Justin Lin, Vin Diesel kind of situation.
Yeah, I just can't do this again.
There was some notion of the kid always being live action.
Right. Yes.
And I like this quote from David Vogel, who's head of production at Disney, where he's like, the little boy would have to act the entire second act of the movie by himself. He would never have animated characters there. He would just be making believe. And it wasn't a matter of money. It was that you don't do that to an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. It's just like, that's just going to be too much of a nightmare for everybody.
And I'll say, a thing I like about this movie, the kid they picked very much does not feel like an actor to me.
And I don't think he ever acted again.
No, he feels like a real kid.
Paul Terry.
Like his performance feels like a kid playing pretend, like to entertain his parents at dinner.
Yeah, he's cute.
And I
got no beef with him.
I like him a lot. I think it would have been incredibly difficult for him to do that. It also works. Like it's like the kind of movie logic thing I love. I love how unexplained it is. But it's like he starts crawling through the peach, little glow sparks fly around him, his head gets bigger.
His head get big.
Yeah.
He's a big head.
Why does he transform? I don't know, because he's in the peach now.
Yeah, Peach is this now.
Yeah.
They really don't. I was kind of expecting a little bit of explanation there, but they were just like, you're different too.
Yeah, you're different too.
And I'm like, okay.
It's sort of Wizard of Oz rules, but it transforms him as well. You're going to a different place and everything's going to be different now.
It's the gator tongues.
It's the gator. It's the crocodile tongues.
Whatever, you croc tongue, gator tongue.
Wow, Ben's out.
This was absolutely
mad at the movie all of a sudden.
Come on. I'd crunch down on some glowing tongues.
What would you hope would happen to you?
Turn into a sick ass bug.
Which bug would you be?
Asked and answered. Yeah, what's your bug? What's your bug avatar?
Well, because I like, of course,
Centipede.
fucking Centipede. He's got an attitude.
Yeah.
You know?
He's a wise guy.
But I don't know, body wise.
Not which one of these characters. Like if you could be any bug in the animal kingdom.
Oh, shit.
Emma, we're going. We're going.
Dang. Fucking praying mantis.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always think of them as classy.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of like,
It's Jonathan Harris in A Bug's Life.
Right.
Manny the Magnificent.
That's right. He's funny.
He's really good.
But Emma Bug?
I was thinking about this.
Emma, you don't have like a locked and loaded answer for this.
Bugs at all?
Okay. I was actually thinking about this because I figured we'd talk about this, and I think I want to be a dragonfly.
Wow.
Because they're fucking cool.
Well, whenever you see a dragonfly, you're like, how does this exist?
Yeah.
They seem very powerful. Like if I was a little bug and one of those things showed up, I would not want to deal with it.
They have by some metric, they have like the highest catch rate, like predator catch rate of any creature on the planet.
Yeah, they're unfair. They're like helicopters.
Yeah, and that's a good answer.
Vietnam shit. They're just swooping. Yeah, well, what bug are you going to be?
I don't know.
I don't know. I was just in an Airbnb last weekend.
Humble brag?
Thank you.
You were waiting for it, but I didn't think I was going to do it.
Okay, fine. Well, you didn't have to do it. We can cut it out if you want.
No, keep it in a double.
No. Alex actually does that. I can't say it anymore.
Humble brag?
And this Airbnb had, which I've encountered once before in my life, a ladybug infestation.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Where there's just hundreds of them. And it's the most benign because they're harmless. They don't do anything.
Sure.
But it was just crazy to see them all. Fucking ladybugs.
Yeah. I mean, ladybug was the answer that popped into my head
first.
They're
cool.
I don't know how much
it
it is. I like
shell.
the fucking Francis in Bug's Life.
I mean, one of Dennis Leary's finest performances.
It's way up there.
There's a ladybug in this movie.
I know. She rules.
She's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what bug.
I like all these characters.
Yeah, because worms are kind of cool too.
Worms are cool.
They eat dirt.
Yeah.
They're slimy.
Yeah.
You can cut them in half and then they multiply. There's a great joke actually about worms.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
He's like talking about how his cousin was attacked. Or no, he had like
his brother.
He had a brother and now he has two half brothers.
Yeah.
Funny.
That
good.
That actually is.
This movie has
some
really good one-liners.
Yeah.
He's committing pesticide is funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
I want to get into plot of this because I want to dig into these characters. I mean, we've basically said everything we need to say about the setup.
The only other interesting guy I want to mention is that Dennis Potter, who's a very famous British writer, who wrote Pennies from Heaven, the original Pennies from Heaven miniseries and all that, right? He wrote the first draft and like totally swerved away from the book. Like it's set in World War II.
Oh, weird.
James's parents died in the Blitz, not eaten by a rhinoceros.
Was that pre-Selleck, just when Disney was internally developing this without knowing what to do with it? Because I think Selleck comes on once they have the Kirkpatrick.
Yeah, I think this script may have existed, and Selleck was like, "This is very interesting, but like we can't do this. We need to, And the Dahl estate had like script approval and was like, no.
Because Kerry Kirkpatrick's the main writer on this, who was a huge Disney story guy.
Yeah, and Jonathan Roberts, who had written The Lion King.
Right, and Kirkpatrick later writes Chicken Run, and then becomes an in-house DreamWorks
And I do want to quote Michael Eisner, chairman of Disney at the time.
Hello.
His opinion on this project, quote, "Who wants to see a film about a boy and a bunch of bugs? We can't spend $30 million on this."
Two thumbs from Emma Stefanski. Way up in the
I
air.
do.
But I do feel like what they eventually arrive on is a pretty faithful, as faithful as you can be, apart from the murder of the ants.
Sure.
Adaptation, right? That's really trying to contain most of the events of this book in some way.
Yeah, and even if you don't crush the ants at the beginning, I think you keep them alive to give them a greater comeuppance later in the film. Like it doesn't feel like they're pulling a punch in that way as much, But yes, they do land on the structure that is like the movie alternates between musical numbers and action set pieces for the whole middle section.
Right.
Because it's one of these things where it's like, okay, they're here, they have to get to New York. How do you kill time in between those two events?
That was my favorite thing about the book. It ended in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was cool. He ends up in Central Park and he's like, I live here now in a peach pit.
I think I saw.
I'm gonna go get H&H. Right?
Yeah. Not open on
Going
Sundays.
to Barney Greengrass.
Yeah. I think I saw someone on the Reddit propose that this might be the most New York movie we've covered, which there is a sideways argument for that.
It gets very New York.
That's
the
the
end.
thing.
Right,
it gets so
because there's a cop who's
Mike
like, "Hey, what are you doing, lady?"
Yeah. Everyone
There's
hanging out
three
their
journalists
windows.
with hats.
I love how
writing on
they're
little
like,
pads.
"This peach is our peach." And he like looks at one photo, he's like, "It's their peach. What can I do? My hands are tied by the law."
I'm kind of astounded he didn't get a supporting actor nomination.
Mike Starr?
Yeah.
He does take
as
it to the
New
bank.
York Cop.
Yes.
It's incredible. And he just like owns the last 15 minutes of the movie.
He's one of those guys where you're like, you have this outfit at home, right? Like he's one of those actors like, I got a construction outfit. I got every YMCA outfit basically in my closet.
You might be very surprised to hear that he was a drinking buddy of my father's during my father's gambling addict days.
Wow.
When
was
he
a
would,
fun one?
I think so. I mean, when he would go to Jimmy's Corner on 45th, the best bar in New York City.
Cool.
Which is a former boxing corner man's bar. And he would sit there with a couple of guys every night and bet on games. And Mike Starr was one of his guys. And when I was a kid and we'd watch movies or TV or whatever, and Mike Starr would show up, my dad would walk in and he'd go like, good for Mike Starr. And I always got the sense that like, when you were drinking with that guy, no one would hire him.
Oh, sure. He was
that guy was mid-20s or early 30s.
He aged into character actor. Right. He figured it out.
Right. Like we watched Ed religiously in my household. And he was just so thrilled when he was like, Mike Starr's still on the show? And we were like, yeah, he's a regular. Good for Mike Starr.
Remember Ed?
We watched it was one of the only TV shows my mom liked.
It's kind of a cute show.
Yeah.
Here's I'm just looking at Spider-Man. The Raimi Spider-Mans. Those are New York movies.
Very New York.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of like New York movies we've covered.
Sure.
Bright Star, that was very New York.
Yeah,
Hey, I'm walking here, Keats.
Efron's, You Got Mail.
West Side Story.
When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah, we've actually covered a lot of New York movies. Wait a second. And this movie mostly takes place in a peach.
Yeah, but at the end.
Yeah.
And also Centipede from Brooklyn. I don't know if you know. I was astounded checking the credits that Ed Burns didn't play Centipede.
I know. He should have actually done it.
Yeah.
He is actually going to revive Centipede, but it's going to be about how that guy can't get laid. Sorry. Just Ed Burns movie.
So this movie starts out.
By the way, I want to tell you that I Googled kinds of bugs because I was trying to find like what kind of bug I want to be. Haven't decided yet.
This movie starts out with like scientific textbook illustrations of bugs.
Beautiful credits. I
Beautiful.
love it. I would hang that up on my wall.
Violin music.
Yeah.
Eisner must be having an aneurysm just from the start of this thing.
Where's the attitude?
Yeah. Like, there's nothing hip happening.
It reminded me of like the opening of Sleeping Beauty.
Yes.
How it's all like medieval illumination.
Which is so beautiful. And similarly chill. Similarly, low tone. Whatever,
and then when you go to live action, you realize Henry Selick is committing to the most unpleasant reality ever committed to film.
Lots of kids their parents haven't been eaten by rhinoceroses. I don't know what you're talking about. It's a normal thing.
So that's idyllic. The beach looks beautiful. His parents seem lovely.
It's very sweet and touching. Honestly,
I will say this:
they're looking at the stars and all that. Yeah.
The transfer of this movie on the Blu-ray and the streaming qualities that exist right now is controversial.
Interesting. Why is that? I watched it on Disney Plus.
There is a look on this to this movie that was certainly by design to Selick. It was his, vision that it seems perhaps what exists out there now, digitally and on disc, is a poorly preserved version of that, where it is much darker.
It does look dark,
even more desaturated, even grainier than what it was. When you watch, because I was going onto YouTube and watching the trailers from when the movie came out, and you're watching lower res. Yeah. There isn't one of those 4K scans of the 35 millimeter trailer. The color palette looks different. The place where I think it becomes very apparent is when Postlethwaite enters and you can barely see his face. It's so dark. I think all of that's a little...
Yeah, you're right. This does look a little brighter.
It's really washed out. And I understand the look, especially in the live action section, is pasty, Victorian, dreary. Yes.
Dreary is a good word for it. Yes.
But the beach looks nice. His parents are very lovely. They love him. They're nice.
Sure. But then they got eaten by a rhino.
When Rhino comes.
This is where I just start loving this movie. Loved it as a child, love it today, is the lack of concern needing to explain the sort of child book logic that I feel like movies get into literalizing. What do you mean they got eaten by a rhino? We can't do a rhino. Rhino's too expensive. That doesn't make sense. Where did the rhino come from?
Rhinos don't eat people.
This is a movie that just commits to the idea that there's just a rhino in the sky formed out of clouds and he kills the parents. Yeah. And he's still there. He's there forever.
Yeah, it's true. Because in the book, it's like they were at the zoo.
At the zoo, yeah.
And in this movie, they're just like, I don't know.
And then the rhino comes.
Yeah, and then a rhino ate them. The end. Now he lives with his aunts. Any questions?
Didn't
think
in
so.
The book, it's sort of like, it's a humorous sort of what's the most absurd
Right.
This, it's turned into this mythical force
Yeah.
The notion of the rhino in the sky.
It's the fear he must conquer in order to become.
Right. That needs no further explanation. And he's just dumped off with these two fucking horrible ants, Joanna Lumley, Miriam Margolyes, giving phenomenal performances.
So good.
Two actors who feel or can feel created by Roald Dahl. You know what I mean? Like they're both such like exaggerated performers to begin with.
Yes.
They're a fun visual comparison.
They have such
Miriam
opposite
Margolyes
looks.
is sort of like short and squat, and Joanna Lumley is this like bizarre, exiguous tall woman.
And Selleck uses French and Saunders almost identically in Coraline.
Yes.
And the puppets are so similar to the two of them in this.
Fucking love them in Coraline.
So good. Coraline rules.
Coraline's a goddamn home run.
Yeah.
I love them.
For people who haven't already, I highly recommend watching Miriam Margolyes on Graham Norton Supercuts.
Yeah, it's so funny. She's so good.
She's a wild woman.
Wasn't there a thing recently where she was on some show and they didn't turn her mic off and she said like "fuck Prince Charles" or something?
Probably. She's always doing that.
She's one of these like will say anything people.
Yes.
She's like an 85-year-old Australian lesbian who goes on all the British talk shows and just says whatever the fuck she feels like.
I googled Miriam Margolyes Graham Norton, and all of the like titles of the videos come up, and it's Miriam Margolyes flashed Martin Scorsese, new like
very sexual, very very sexual,
most outrageous moments.
Yeah,
12 minutes long. Yeah, that'll do.
Can you look up what the recent thing was?
She said live on air. She was talking about Jeremy Hunt, who's the new Chancellor of the Exchequer or something. No, maybe this is brand new. This is like from last week. Is this what you're thinking of?
This is what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
She said live on air. When I saw him there, I said, "You've got a hell of a job. Best of luck." And what I really should have said was, "Fuck you, bastard." Look, she's cool. Yeah. Joanna Lumley, this is sort of like Ab Fab, prime Ab Fab era. So she's, I feel like, popping up and stuff. Love her. Love Joanna Lumley. Do you like Ab Fab? You feel like it's a bunch of drunk fashionistas, right? It's very Ben.
Yeah. I mean, I was quite
who were
young
causing trouble.
Yeah.
When it was like
getting
on
kicked out.
Comedy Central.
Yeah.
But I remember it was just a show and I was like, these are fucked up adults.
I remember I watched Ab Fab because it was like when I was a kid living in Britain, the cool thing like was Ab Fab.
Sure.
Like
that was
I guess because they were drunk. Yeah. And I think I watched it and I was like, is this what grown-ups are like?
Sure.
When in fact it's like they're really kind of like children. Like they're like they're being tended to by their kids and their kids are like, God, our parents are so awful. Right?
Yes.
But Ab Fab rules. God. They bring Ab Fab back. I guess
they
brought
did the
it back
fucking
like
movie
many
like 4 years
and
ago.
It never really. It's
one of those things.
It probably just belongs in the
20 years of being like, would they ever make an Ab Fab movie? And then they finally did, and people were like, okay. It's exactly like we were just talking about T2 Train Spotting, which is another one that people were like begging for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, they're great. Those two are great. Ann Spiker and Ann Sponge. They kick ass.
Grotesque. I like it when movies use theatricality as part of their look. I like that this fucking little house on top of a hill looks completely artificial. Everything is these bizarre, like paper cutout, forced perspective sets that they have like grotesque theater stage makeup on. Her giant teeth.
The sets look teeny tiny too.
Tiny. That's another thing I love. It's like not only are they forced perspective, but they feel like they are 10 inches long.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
they are humans in like little stop motion sets.
I think it's the right aesthetic choice because I think it does prime you for the strangeness of the stop motion.
Yeah.
And the transition doesn't feel that weird as a result. I also I like a hill house where the house is like kind of like hanging off the hill.
I love it.
I always like that.
Defies logic, right? Defies gravity. But I also love the, in like Grimm's fairy tales and things, the adults who are mean to the children are not funny. They're just horrible, right? Like the wicked stepmother is just horrible. Any of those types of characters.
Right.
In Roald Dahl movies or books rather,
sure.
The awful adults are perversely funny.
Yes.
And I think he's nailing this tone from the get-go of like they are horrifying to look at. They are truly terrible to him.
Yeah, they're not nice. They're not good parents.
They are
not good guardians.
Perversely entertaining.
Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
they leave him fish heads.
Yeah.
Just the absurdity of like, oh, they truly don't feed him. They put him in a box, like all the shit, you know?
He has a lot of grotesques in his bibliography,
yes.
obviously, Roald Dahl.
Yes.
Like Mrs. Trunchbull in Matilda, right?
The aforementioned twits.
The twits.
Mm.
The twits.
The twits.
Charlie,
I'm going to bring back the super fans and they only talk about Roald Dahl books.
Yes. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, obviously, the old people in that are presented mostly as gentle, but they're still kind of a little weird and creepy.
Weird enough that SNL does 4 sketches about him a season.
Yes.
They keep on insisting on doing sketches that start with 4 old people in bed
rolling
together.
out the bed, yeah. But I guess Miss Trunchbull is sort of the biggest one in my head, right?
Sure.
She's a similarly like sort of like exaggerated villain that you're kind of you want as much of her as they can give you, right? Oh, the Witches is the other one, obviously.
Yes.
Yes. I knew I was thinking.
Right. Yeah.
Sponge and Spiker, though, I don't know. I'm kind of rooting for them to go. They're so unpleasant. At a certain point, I'm like, I need to get out of here.
This kid has no outside world. There's no Miss Honey.
No, there's no Miss Honey.
I was surprised when the Peach rolled down the hill that there was like a whole neighborhood.
You never see them.
You never know.
You see when they come to visit when the Peach is on display. But yes.
What's their jobs?
Showcasing the Peach.
I guess they do eventually do that. Because like, what do they do? What do they do all day?
It just feels like they're old money.
Yeah.
They've got this stupid house.
Why don't they get him something better than fish heads?
Because they're mean. The whole point, they're doing it's not for lack of options. They're spiteful. That's the whole thing. They're like, we left something for you. They think it's funny that they left him fish heads.
They're really awful to him.
Yeah.
Okay, so then he meets a magic man.
Well, this is the first song.
Yeah. Which is what, My Name is James or whatever. Yeah.
But James sadly, sees the fish heads, then sees in the garbage a fucking crisp bag.
Yeah.
With like residue inside of it.
He's like licking the bag.
Licking the residue and trying to find some happiness, making this little balloon out of it to entertain himself.
Right.
And James has heard the Grasshopper's music at night, not knowing it's from the Grasshopper. And this is when he sings to the spider, who he does not know yet is Miss Spider.
He does not know yet that she's the hottest bitch in town, that she is a babe upon babes.
Of course you're into Mrs. Spider.
Okay, so I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this. David, I'm not going to produce receipts.
Okay.
But sometimes in the past on this podcast, we've talked about an animated film, and the second we finish recording, you say, I was never going to say this on mic, but I have a big crush on that character. Obviously, the mom in Ponyo is the one you're very vocal about.
Did you see the fan cam someone made me of her?
Yes. Sasuke's mom, you love.
Sosuke's
mom.
I just rewatched Ponyo. Hotter than ever. That woman bewitches me.
There are other ones I'm not going to cite.
Say it. Cite it? We can.
You
cut
want
it
me
out.
to?
I don't know what you're referring to. I'm sure it's awful. Whatever.
The frog from Princess and the Frog. The second we finished recording, you said the reason I like this movie so much is because I think she's
crushing her. I'm crushing her in frog form.
The whole time I kept on saying, David, why have you seen this so many times? And you were like, I don't know. The second we finished recording,
she's bossy.
Bossy frog face.
And it's like she's in human form as well. And I'm like, oh, I guess she is. I don't remember that. I remember the frog.
You have not said anything about Tiana in human form, who I think is a beautiful woman.
She's very pretty.
But you were all fucking horn up for Frog Tiana.
Sure.
Now, my point is that it feels like sometimes when they are non-human, you are reticent to admit you find them attractive on mic.
Well,
I was watching this movie last night, and I said, I'm going to fucking force him to admit Miss Spider is maybe one of the hottest characters in the history of cinema.
Miss
Spider is a 10 out of 10. Hit it, Emma. Go for it, please.
She is one of the, like, when you always, I don't know if you always do, but sometimes the, like, prompt goes around where it's like, which, classic, like, probably animated female character was your, like, sexual awakening. And, people cite, like, Shigo from Kim Possible or whoever, like, Poison Ivy. Look at her.
Look at her.
She's the OG.
She's got a beret.
Miss
She's
Spider.
classy.
She's played by Susan Sarandon.
Doing, like, the breathiest foreign, like, fucking... What's her name in...
mean French lady with a heart of gold.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, there you go.
Who are you thinking?
Rocky and Bullwinkle. Come on, what's her name?
Oh, Natasha.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just that thing where it's like... how you worked on this accent for 5 minutes, but I love it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like the most generic accent. Euro accent. She's so good.
I just love,
I mean, Sosuke's mom, Lisa, is still number one.
Sure, for you. But I just, attention must be paid here.
No, she's incredible. Yeah.
There was that thing like a couple months ago where Susan Sarandon like broke Twitter because there was some video of her almost falling out of her dress.
Susan Sarandon?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And she's
very pretty.
Like in her 70s.
Is she in her 70s?
Yes. And everyone who has spent the last 6 years
76.
online complaining about Susan Sarandon for political reasons.
Right. She like got Trump elected or whatever it is
right.
she did. Yeah.
That video circulated. Everyone was like, I give up. I can't say anything bad about the woman.
Right.
I mean, it's one of the best AV Club headlines of all time, in my opinion.
What's that?
Susan Sarandon masturbated to for old time's sake.
Susan Sarandon's a babe. Miss Spider is a babe.
And one of the sexiest voices of all time.
Very wonderful voice.
Yes.
But James just sings to her in whatever.
And it's a song of affirmation. I'm James. He needs to hold on to some sense of self because he's got fucking nothing. As we were saying, as opposed to some other Roald Dahl stories, there are no friends. There are no kind family members. There are no kind teachers. James's life is just fucking cleaning up the house for these two shitty women who are openly abusive to him. So he's got to talk to bugs.
Yeah. Do you talk to bugs, Emma?
All the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Figured.
Then Pete Postlethwaite enters as a character named the Magic Man.
He sure does.
And this is absolutely the first time I'd seen Pete Postlethwaite on screen.
That's a good question. That's a good point. Even probably
Lost
was for
World's
me
the year after this, and I was like, "Oh, the Magic Man! Glad to see him working."
Yeah, I mean, like I don't think I'd seen like The Usual Suspects or In the Name of the Father.
Yeah.
What his hairline is doing, I didn't think was possible.
It is everything about the way he looks in this. He comes on screen and I go, this is the most twisted vision yet from the visionary mind of Henry Selick. And that's just talking about his bone structure.
He's so incredible looking. I mean, this is
He's handsome, though.
This is kicking off. He is. He's handsome. He's striking.
He's got the stubble going
Obviously,
on.
he has the Oscar nomination in his pocket already for In the Name of the Father. And he's been in stuff like Alien 3. Like he's been around for a long time.
And Spielberg's about to collect him for a couple movies.
This is the thing. He's already, he's incredible in Distant Voices Still Lives, if anyone's, but this is the kickoff of him in just like peak character actor
studio
Hollywood
paycheck.
king.
Right.
Dragonheart, Romeo and Juliet, Brastoff, which he's amazing in, Lost World, Amistad, Animal Farm, that was good. Yeah, the Shipping News, and that kind of evens out. He still does stuff though. He still just worked and worked and worked.
Yeah, dies too soon.
I know that just that crazy year of Inception in the Town. Where he's so good in both.
And it felt like he hadn't been on screen in years.
Yeah, it
was
like
this is his return.
While.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I mentioned it on this podcast that I saw him in a 90-minute one-man play called Scaramouche Jones, where he plays a clown who's going to die at midnight, which is one of those things where it was like just watching him work was very cool.
Yeah.
Is it a comedy?
No, it's sort of like, happy, sad kind of weird thing. But it was more just like, I think it was just like a thing he toured for his whole life. Like it was like his big personal.
That's
like
really cool.
It was cool. I'll show you a picture of him as Scaramouche Jones.
Cool.
Ooh.
Yes,
there's also
form.
he did like a documentary in which he was playing a fictional character about climate change.
Okay.
It wasn't like a what the bleep, but it was that kind of thing where
What
it's
the bleep
like
do we know though?
half scripted, half documentary, talking head interviews or whatever. But it was like him playing a man from the future.
It's called The Age of Stupid.
Yes, thank you. And there's incredible.
It's like he's in the future
Yes.
trying to figure out why the world ended.
Correct. There are incredible red carpet photos of him promoting The Age of Stupid at whatever film festival premiered at, where he went down the red carpet with a bicycle. Can you find these?
Yep.
If you see them, and he's like steering the bicycle up at the paparazzi line.
God bless Pete Postlethwaite.
This is one of these things I'll never forget.
How old did he see when he died?
He was
64. What the fuck?
We had so much.
He had pancreatic cancer. It was very scary stuff. Yeah. What are you going to do?
One of the best.
He's a great actor, and, he's well cast as the Magic Man.
He doesn't have a lot of screen time, and he really makes a maximum impact with what he does. And it's also like this is now you're seeing someone be kind to him and inject a little bit of hope into James's life. I can't remember who it was, but it was some interview I read with some actor who worked with him early on in their career.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing a scene with him. It was his coverage. And they were watching him and they were like, this guy is horrendous. He is the worst actor I've ever seen. This is astonishing. He is so overdoing it. Does he just not care anymore?
Right.
And then they went behind the monitor and they watched the footage, and he was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, he was one of these guys where he somehow knew exactly how to pitch it for the lens.
He liked the lens. The lens loved him.
Lens loved him. Spielberg said he might be the best actor in the world.
I think we
Right.
talked about that on either Amistad or Lost World.
Yeah, those
episode.
two back to back.
That thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Our
yes.
best sideburn actor.
Oh,
like
man
he
has
looks so
The
good with
man
sideburns.
has whiskers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. He's got whiskers.
He's got whiskers. So he gives James a bag of all the things I said in the opening. These magic little glowy things.
Yep.
And his mean aunts spell it. They knock it out of his hands.
Yep.
Falls into the ground.
It's
Well,
tough.
he kind of falls.
In the
Oh,
book,
sure.
it's tough though, because you're like, "Fuck, that was his."
That was the one.
I remember when they
Yeah.
and they all like wriggle into the ground, and you're like, "God damn it!"
Yeah.
And then of course, grows a giant peach,
Mhm.
which then they exhibit as a tourist attraction, and
Yes.
it's on a tree, which I do love.
Uh-huh.
This big fucking thing that won't snap off.
I love the look of the peach
I do too.
in this form, especially when it looks like it's just a giant balloon that they've dressed up.
Here's my only thing.
Uh-huh.
In the book, Roald Dahl gets into how delicious the peach is
Uh-huh.
when he like tunnels into it, and he's like, "Was that good for the mic?"
Great for the mic.
And like really, it's just so juicy, and it's like the best peach you ever tasted. It doesn't feel delicious in this movie.
Randy Newman wrote a whole fucking song about how delicious
There's an
this
entire
peach is.
song about
It's
this.
the whole musical number. They prepare it 40 different ways.
It's called
Except
Eating the
he'd
Peach.
Flick some
I
fucking
know.
cigar on
But
it.
it doesn't look juicy enough because
I
it has to
think
be like tunnely.
Disagree with this. I disagree. I don't like peaches, and I think the peach looks good. in
I'm
this
sorry. What?
movie. Not my fruit.
What?
Not my fruit.
Emma, where are you on peaches?
I
Is
love
this a 2
fruits.
versus 2 or a 3 versus
I
1?
no,
love
I love a
fruits.
peach. Peaches are good.
Peach-
well, you gotta
peach
get
is a
them
lower
right
tier.
though. If you get them bad, then
What are you? I'm horrified. Peach is my favorite fruit, I will admit.
Number one,
I could eat
raspberry.
it for
I love
days.
raspberry.
Raspberry with a bullet.
Raspberries are good.
Then I probably go number 2, banana.
My daughter likes to take the raspberry and put it on her finger.
Well, that's humble brag. And I
I'll
did as
probably
well.
find you a picture of her doing that.
Yeah. Raspberry, banana, apple.
I mean, these are all good fruits.
Yeah.
I got no beef with these fruits.
Peach doesn't move the needle for me.
wow.
Do you like any stone fruit? Or are you anti-stone fruit?
That's a good
The
question.
plum, the nectarine.
I
the-
don't really love them. I think the peach looks delicious in this film.
When I was a kid
Yes.
in primary school in Britain,
Okay.
and you guys might know that.
What?
All right, that chips is the word for French fries in Britain.
Uh-huh.
It was a talent show.
Mhm.
There was a talent show at my primary school, and people get up, they sing songs, they do dances. One kid got up and he said, "I have a poem called Chips," and everyone was like, "All right." And he said, "They don't have bones, they don't have pips, they don't have stones. That's why I like chips." And he sat down and he got the biggest standing ovation I've ever seen. This like little 7-year-old kid just absolutely annihilated with that
Wow.
poem. Never forgotten it.
Yeah.
And he's right. They
Yeah.
don't have any of those
Yeah.
things. They're soft.
Airtight logic.
Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find my daughter with raspberries on her fingers.
Okay.
But
I think
carry
the
on.
peach texture looks amazing
I
in this
agree.
movie. I know exactly what that would feel like if I just
Yes.
put my hand in.
I think it sounds great every time they show it.
Very
I-
sexual fruit, of course. Call Me By My Name.
Yeah.
Call Me By Your Name, whatever that movie was called. Remember that one?
Call you by my name.
I don't know. It's complicated.
Yeah.
They're like saying each other's names. I can't even
Yeah.
remember.
No, it's a good fruit to fuck. I don't debate that. I don't contest that. But
Peach pie, my favorite pie.
oh sure, I like peaches in sort of desserts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Peach cobbler.
Oh,
Classic.
oh,
Yeah. I'm never gonna eat a peach.
You know who makes a great peach cobbler?
Who?
Daniel Day-Lewis. He was a cobbler for a while, supposedly. You know? You know
Yep,
the
yes,
joke?
that is true. Dan was a shoe man.
Everyone understand? Good?
What was your fucking Dan Lewis text the other day, Ben? I want people to know that Ben in text does not drop the bit that Dan Lewis is a close friend of his.
It's not a bit. Why? What did I do?
It was because the Alan Rickman diaries came out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right, and he had some. Did he have something about Dan Lewis in there?
Yeah. I think he is like me. We both know Dan pretty
Right,
well.
he calls him Dan.
Mm.
Maybe
Mhm.
Yes.
are they in something together?
Yes, but I'm trying to remember what it was. What was this fucking thing?
I don't know.
I all I remember is that Ben called Alan Rickman Al. He's now added this to the repertoire.
Let me find it. All right, here it is.
All right.
Yes, here's the excerpt. 4 p.m. Dan Day-Lewis arrives to play tennis. I mean, that is pretty funny that he just wrote that in his diary. And Ben said, makes sense. Al and him were pretty close. All right, so it goes in the peach.
They were boys.
Al Rickman.
Hey, David.
Yeah.
We got to talk about Stamps.com.
These guys at Stamps.com, they're dealing with something, slaying through traffic to the post office. Come on. Have you been doing that, Ben?
It's no fun.
Is your inbox like a blizzard rather than a winter wonderland?
David, I use Stamps.com personally.
You do. You personally use it.
And I'm a big fan. It truly makes like the experience for small business owners, it makes it so easy.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's very helpful, especially Christmas time. If you're doing holiday mailing and shipping, you can get it under control at Stamps.com. They've been indispensable for over 1 million businesses for more than 20 years. You get all these major discounts on USPS and UPS shipping rates. That's up to 86% off. All you need is a computer and a printer. If you do package pickup, you can schedule it through your Stamps.com dashboard. They've got the switch and save feature, so you can always compare carriers and rates. And if you're running an online store, it works seamlessly with all the shopping carts and marketplaces.
It truly, it's so seamless working with Shopify. It's like really, it's made the whole experience for shipping out my clothing just so easy. And here's another thing I want to say, because you mentioned waiting in line at the post office. When you roll up with a big old bag of packages that you've packed and then put on your Stamps.com labels, and you see all those idiots waiting in line, and you just drop all your stuff and go on your merrily way, it feels so damn good.
Yes, it's fantastic. And we love them. They've been sponsoring us for years. Look, this holiday season, you can trade late nights for silent nights and get started with a Stamps.com today. Sign up with promo code CHECK for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, free postage, and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Stamps.com. Go to the microphone at the top of the page and enter code CHECK. You guys talk about the peach.
Well, I want to talk about, they set up this show.
Yeah, sure. They're hawking tickets to the peach.
Right.
I think one little girl like asks if she can taste it. And they're like, taste it? Your ticket's revoked. And they send her home.
So
another
nasty.
joke that's really funny goes, oh, Father, I'm sorry, I'm going to actually have to charge you twice. And then he goes, I forget, he has some line back at her. But like there's lots of little joke moments like that throughout.
There are good jokes. They're very good jokes.
I like also the bit where they do the full Roald Dahl sort of like limerick recitation of her talking about her own body parts.
Oh, yes.
The toes.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and I forget, how's the peach get rolling in the first place?
Well, it's only
James
once
climbs inside.
Yeah, it's only once he goes inside.
Yeah.
Right.
He eats a little bit of it.
That's what it is. He's so hungry because they don't feed him. He starts eating a little bit.
And he eats one of the little crocodile tongues.
Yes, right.
With the bite of the peach.
Which makes him stop motion boy.
Yes. He becomes stop motion. He goes into the tunnel.
Yes.
I believe it's Centipede who actually disconnects the peach,
right? Well, okay, he does something insane that I could not get. I had to like go back and rewatch this.
Centipede's a wild man.
He's the wildest of them.
In the character design for the centipede, they use the like jaw, like chelicerae that they would have as a mouth. They just put it on the top of his head and give him like a normal little human mouth with teeth on his face.
Little triangle nose.
You got to be able to see that he's smoking a cigar clearly.
Yeah, you can't do that with little.
They would get in the way.
Yeah. But they keep it. They keep them just on the top of his head. But they're like his
little antennae
between his antenna.
Yeah, right.
And that's how he chews the peach off of the tree.
Right.
Yes. Voiced by Richard Dreyfuss, of course.
An incredible performance.
Yeah.
Quite
really good.
He's making an effort. This is the thing about these voice performances.
Everyone's
it's
really,
not like they just sort of cast someone. It's like, all right, just do your thing. Like he's doing like a performance.
They're all doing things, and the bigger the star, the more they're making an effort for something.
I will say
outside of the normal speaking voice.
This is his follow-up performance to Mr. Holland's Opus. So
Okay.
he's an Oscar. But like this is Dreyfuss's stinker era.
Yeah.
Like American President,
Sure.
Krippendorf's Tribe. Like
Yeah.
where he played a lot of stinkers around there.
But every time I
mean,
listen
even
to
Mr.
this,
Holland's
I don't
a
even
pretty big
hear
fucking
him in
stinker.
the
No,
voice.
neither do I. Doesn't sound
It's
like
impressive.
him.
It's
I
like
had to Google it. I was
pretty
like, who is
complete
this?
transformation. He doesn't do the singing, but he does everything else.
Obviously, the other. Okay, so you got Simon Cowell and Mr.
It's
Grasshopper.
just perfect casting.
He's wonderful.
But he's like playing the most extreme version of a Simon Cowell.
yes.
Cowell.
Not yes. Not Simon Cowell.
No.
He's not like it's a no from me.
Yeah.
He's not like
Arms
they
crossed.
told you. Fuck, what was her name? Who's the lady?
Susan Boyle.
Susan. Well, they told you couldn't do it, but I'm
Yeah.
here to tell you.
Yeah.
Yes.
The most condescending thing in the history of pop culture. That's an incredible performance, and the way they all react to it in retrospect is pretty upsetting.
It's I really get stuck on the Susan Boyle thing because I've watched that clip several times
The
because it
performance
is
is
genuinely
unbelievable.
and it's good television. Like right,
Yes,
like like the
absolutely.
moment where everyone switches over.
Yes.
But at the same time, right, it does feel kind of like incredibly patronizing. But whatever, she's got a great career.
She does. Yeah, it worked out.
But anyway, Simon Cowell.
Right.
Susan Sarandon, as discussed,
Can get it.
as Miss Spider. She
Mhm.
can get it any day of the fucking week, twice on Sunday.
David Thewlis.
Great.
As Mr. Earthworm, really good.
Great.
Really funny.
So good.
Maybe low key, like quiet MVP, Mr.
Yeah,
Earthworm.
yeah.
I love Mr. Earthworm.
Then double cast Miriam Margolyes as the glowworm.
Yes, she's
Mhm.
the glowworm.
Yes.
And then Jane Leaves,
Yes.
middle of Frasier,
Middle of Frasier, hot.
as the ladybug. Am
Yeah.
I forgetting anyone? That's
No,
it.
that's the crew. They
Yeah.
get rid of the silkworm. There was one extra bug in the book
Mm.
Yeah.
who they get rid of, and they just
We've already
let,
got a lot of worms, right?
yeah, and they let Miss Spider do the web swinging,
Yes,
flinging,
but I remember that. That's a whole thing in the book where
Yes.
like the silkworm makes really good silk.
and that's how they connect the birds.
it is
Yeah.
pretty fucking weird that there's worms that just poop silk.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about that.
yeah. Ben should collect them for your clothing line.
Yeah, I should.
And they look they look like
Wait,
It'll make production a lot easier.
they're like moths,
would.
right?
Yeah.
Emma, silkworms?
Yeah, they're moths.
Yeah, it's wild that we use bug poop and it's like expensive clothes.
It's not
Mhm.
poop. It's different.
Go on.
It comes out of a different place.
Let's see. Ooh, they are bred for. It's called sericulture. Is the cultivation of silkworms for silk? It's been going on for 5,000 years.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
That is fascinating.
Emma, in the Night Before Christmas episode
Mm.
came out last week, David quoted you saying, "I wish I was bugs."
Yeah, I did say that.
Right, in reference to Oogie Boogie.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about. I said that I didn't.
He's my
like,
favorite character in that.
And to be clear, I want to 2 weeks in a row state that I don't like that he's bugs. I didn't at the time, and I don't now.
Emma
I
not
don't
only
like
likes
when
it, but
he's
wishes
bugs.
she was it.
Emma
Yeah.
wishes that I could like pull some string on her neck, and suddenly she just unravels, and she's just bugs.
You don't know that you can't. Do
I
that.
don't know that I can. I've never tried.
You never tried.
Maybe the reason I like bugs so much is I'm trying. It's like an
that you are
agenda.
bugs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right, you're trying to get us
You're
all
like,
into
bugs
bugs.
are pretty cool,
They're
huh?
fun. Yeah, they're pretty cool.
What do you guys think of bugs? Then, like a bunch of worms fall out of her mouth. I don't. Look,
Now that we're on to the bug characters, though, I want to give you some space, Emma, to talk about bugs. What is like your personal bug ranking?
Of these in the movie, or
I think I want to know
of
both
all of
that
them?
and in the insect kingdom.
oh god, okay.
The insect kingdom is so diverse.
It's
though,
so
Griffin.
diverse.
There's
That's
like,
why I'm asking.
there's so many like types.
Yeah, there's so many types.
What are your opinions on these bugs represented in the film as bugs?
They're great. As we were talking
Not
about
as
before,
characters. I'm talking as like a bug expert.
they're good. They do a good job.
Okay, I have a question. Do you like that bugs have a lot of legs, and do you think it's funny that they would have to have many shoes?
Oh, I think it's hilarious.
Okay.
Yeah.
so
There's a whole thing in the book with that they have to take off Centipede's shoes because his laces get tied together. And it takes a long time because he has so many legs and so many shoes.
centipedes don't have 100 legs, despite being called centipedes.
They don't.
So they do have too many legs, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yes.
two to four is enough.
This movie turns most of them into hands.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like so centipede. That's his thing. Grasshopper. What's his thing?
He
sings. He has a violin.
erudite.
He's smart.
Yeah.
He's got kind of like
kind of a snob.
Yeah.
To be
He's got like
honest.
a
Stiff
little
upper
suit.
lip.
I love his little outfit.
Yeah, his
I would
outfit
wear
is
that.
fun.
He's
I would look
hoity.
good in that.
Do you think that's good though? That like the grasshopper has like a monocle, like the grasshopper is the classy bug.
It's funny that they made him that way, but I guess when you look at a grasshopper's face, even
Yeah.
first of all, it looks
sort of elongated face.
And the music. I guess they're getting into this
Yeah,
idea.
they're sort of like
Right.
violin players.
Yeah.
Right. That's what
they're-
they latch onto. But in your opinion, is that more of a blue collar bug?
I mean, sure. Yeah. When you get, because when you see them, they're in the dirt. They're in the
Sure.
grass. They're just sort of hanging out.
That's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I
mean,
mean, well, that is a lot of them. That's true.
Worker ant, I feel like the ultimate blue collar, right?
Right. Worker ant, he's got a pickaxe.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to be a fire ant.
Oh, they're
Ooh.
scary.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
They'll
like
burn
them.
you.
Yeah, they'll
They'll
burn.
burn you.
Like, obviously you could imagine the ladybug as being classy because she's a lady, but here it's
She's
more
a
like she's a
lady.
little old lady,
Yeah.
Yes.
like with a handbag.
Yes.
Yes.
I would say a butterfly is kind of the most elegant.
Butterfly's very elegant. That's
People
kind of like
love
an
'em.
opera singer
That's
bug.
like the only one people like.
Yeah.
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 Classic,
D-
likable bug.
This does that thing that I love in animated films where like every character is very distinct as written, right? They all have a very distinct voice. There's no joke any one of the bugs has in a movie that could be delivered by one of the other bugs.
Sure.
Very rooted in
They're
very specific
distinctive.
personality types in comedic games, right?
Right.
Then they all have very distinct looks that somehow feel like perfect externalizations of their character game, but also just completely different physiologies, right? Like you have someone like Grasshopper's like all leg, tiny torso.
Yeah.
Centipede's just long ass torso, tons of little arms,
Hell yeah.
right? Ladybug is like a perfect circle with tiny little arms and legs. Like they're all just, Inchworm is just fucking a line. And then the voices are like the perfect matches to the physicalizations.
What bug are you happiest to see in your house?
In my house.
Yeah, like there's a bug in your house.
Spiders.
Spiders. What bug are you least happy to see in your house? That's the real question.
Cockroach?
Moths.
Moths.
Yeah,
because of the
you had a
sweaters.
moth
I
problem.
have a moth.
You have an ongoing moth. I had pantry moths, which so they don't eat
Yeah.
clothes, they eat food. Those fuckers are so hard to get rid of.
I
They're
feel
so
I feel a
irritating.
lot of moth solidarity for
Well, you
Arthur
are
reasons,
Arthur,
right? But they are so fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not someone who gets like super freaked out by like cockroaches or shit like that or ants. I'm like, well, I got to solve this. But moths like actively fuck with your shit.
Yeah.
They do.
And I like sweaters a lot.
But if you think about it, it's like they're customizing it for you. It's like
Ben, you should
Couture.
start collecting moths as well.
Wait, what if that's what you do next? You
Yeah.
you have like a moth chamber.
release
and you, like,
them
put
in-
clothes
Just
in
buy
there.
now we're fucking talking.
and
Buy
then you see, like,
silkworms and moths.
You give them like a day, and
Yeah.
then like whatever
Yeah.
happens, you take the clothes out, and you're like, it's a unique object.
Yeah.
Like, this is what they created.
It could be a subline called Bugs by Ben.
All right, I'm gonna write this down.
Okay, so they go.
You know
in
what's fucked up about moths?
What?
They don't eat.
they don't
At
eat.
all?
The worms eat.
Sure.
The moths.
and then they turn into a moth.
The only purpose is to have sex.
Then what the
Sounds good to. Ooh, can I be a moth? How do you go to moth school?
the fuck? Why are there these holes in my sweaters?
Because
then?
the
What-
worm, the worm form,
Oh boy.
that's the one that eats.
Sometimes I feel like I'm in my worm form.
Yeah, I'm absolutely in my worm form.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I told this story on mic.
Okay. Is it about your worm form?
No, I was talking to a friend of the podcast, Kevin T. Porter, about being a sad, lonely, single bastard. And I was just
Didn't
sort
mean
of
to laugh
talking
there.
about how I feel. No, this is a comedic story. I'm
About your
setting
worm
up.
form. Yeah. Mhm.
And I was just saying like the attitude I was trying to take these days. And he said, I think it's fine. I think you're like entitled to have like a slut period. I think you can have a slut period
You're in
and
your
just
slut
go out and
era.
have fun.
Yeah, slut
Be in
era.
your slut era. And I said,
Yeah.
no, Kevin, I said slug era. And that I want to just lie around and do nothing.
Yeah.
I feel like a disgusting.
No, I'm pro Kevin. You need to exit your slut era, go into slug era, go into some sort of chrysalis.
Trying to exit my slug era.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know.
You want to see a moth that I like?
Yes.
It's called a hummingbird moth. They're really big. They're about the size
too
of
big.
hummingbirds, and
Too big.
they're some of the few moths that do eat. They're like butterflies.
Oh, that's cool.
but they're
They're
moths.
gorgeous.
Emma does this to me a lot.
just shows you.
Yeah,
different
where
bugs.
I'll be like, I just saw a fucking spider, and she's like, what's a cool spider? Is the fucking Colombian jumping spider or whatever. And
They're
she
pretty
shows me
cool.
some
I love
goddamn
jumping spiders.
Emma,
yes.
do you know that I got bit by a spider and I have a scar on my head and it caused nerve damage?
What?
Yes, this scar right here.
Uh-huh.
It was a wolf spider. It bit my head in the middle of the night.
Oh my
and
Where?
until I started taking it in New Jersey. Of
Well,
all fucking
prime
places.
territory for
Yeah.
wolves, right?
Shit. And it started just basically the flesh just was like slowly just melting.
Ooh.
And so I had to take antibiotics and, stop that whole process.
Yeah, and they have necrotic bites.
Isn't there? Am I misremembering?
And
that-
I have no feeling there anymore. It caused nerve damage.
So you can just touch that part of your head.
Yeah, it just feels kind of like a phantom like feeling. It's really fucked up.
Cool.
But I share it because it's kind of cool.
That's kind of cool.
You know what I mean? Like
That's very-
a little
yeah.
ass thing could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, nuts.
I'm looking it up. There is a big Jersey dig in this movie, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Grasshopper will be blown off course. Centipede will wind up in Jersey.
It's just, I mean, it sucks, but it's unfortunately just a part of like popular culture, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what's cool about wolf spiders?
What?
They carry their babies on their backs.
They do. Yes, I've got a picture here, in
And
fact.
in the summers, you can go out at night with a flashlight and you can look for them and you'll find them
wow.
because their eyes reflect light in the dark.
Oh,
David's giving a
shit.
Big old thumbs down.
I don't like them. I don't like these little spider babies at
Damn.
all.
Look at the
Also, this
little
spider's got like
baby.
spikes on its legs.
Oh, those are hairs.
Mm,
Yeah,
no.
they're hair. That's how they feel where things
Susan
are.
Sarandon's voice ain't coming out of that thing.
James has met the bugs.
Sure.
His
you're,
new
you're
friends.
getting us back on course.
Yes.
I've got more facts to drop in whenever you need.
Oh, yeah. We'll return to this well.
Yeah.
That's the Life for Me is the first song.
That's the life.
That's the life.
Yeah. I mean, sure.
It's
He's
sort
got
of.
a cute voice.
I was doing Ladybug. That's the life for me.
Yeah.
But the song, yes, the song is he sells them on his vision of going to New York City.
Mhm.
The dream he's held on to for so long.
Right.
They don't know what to do now that they have, they're stuck in this peach.
He has a little postcard.
Right. Well, he said the magic man told me the answer would be right here. And he
Yeah.
taps his breast
Yeah.
pocket and he realizes the postcard his dad gave him is right there.
And the postcard essentially is his dad being like, New York's a cool place. We'll check it out sometime. Love, Dad.
The Empire State
What's
Building.
that? A rhino?
Yes. It was written
Right.
mid-death.
Ah!
That's my favorite bit is when people like write out their death sounds. Gargle, gurgle. Oh no,
It
stop.
Always, God, there's some fucking Terry Pratchett Discworld joke where
Yeah.
someone opens a fortune cookie and it's like, help, I've fallen in the fortune cookie machine. Oh no, I'm about to die. And the guy's like, these just aren't funny anymore.
They do that in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's like the
So good. Always
Classic.
good. Always funny.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Sorry.
that's sort of the I Want song.
Yeah.
Of selling all of them on the idea of New York City, which Centipede is obviously hugely into because he's a Brooklyn boy.
Right, he's
Yeah.
from there.
Centipede's such a fucking good character.
We already said it, but I agree with
But
you.
he's like a bullshit artist,
Mhm.
supremely confident in everything.
Right. He's kind of got the attitude of like a cabbie slash, newsstand owner.
Never stop smoking a cigar.
He's always got a
Never
chomping on
stops.
cigar.
Yeah, chomping.
He's got like a perpetual, his mouth is like,
Yeah.
like, because he's always got a
He's got
cigar
this
in it.
incredibly long sideways mouth, and he wears like suspenders,
Yes.
a
Yep.
little cabbie hat.
Yep.
yeah, a shirt with many arms in it to fit
Mhm.
his
Yes.
arms through.
But the suspenders are cool. The extra long suspenders are very cool. Yeah, he's my favorite. Although Miss Spider, no.
They're all great. They're all
great.
As
They're
we
all
said.
lovely.
Yes. But so then the mission becomes how do we get to New York City?
Right. So
This
Centipede cuts
So
the
that's
stem,
first group musical number, then first action sequence is
rolling down the hill.
yes, and
Centipede cuts the stem. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And then how do we take flight?
Yes.
Yeah.
So first, do they end up in the ocean first and have to deal with the sharks?
Yes.
Yes.
That's the first action sequence.
Yes.
In the right. Yep. So that's fun.
But it's
Mechanical
not
sharks.
sharks. It's mechanical.
It's the pirates
shark.
and the
Yeah,
mechanical
yeah,
shark,
yeah.
right? What
Well,
am I
no,
forgetting here?
first is hooking the birds, right?
Is that that's what I couldn't remember. Is that second or first?
Maybe
The birds
right.
was first, and then
Yeah.
the shark comes, and like we have to hurry up
Right.
and get the rest of the birds
right.
because they need some time to like
Okay.
figure out
right.
how they're
it
going
sort
to
of
do.
overlaps.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry if this movie's I've just watched it, but weirdly,
it's episodic.
The plot doesn't. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
But James is kind of like sheepish at first, like when they're trying to think of ideas. He's like, "I'll say it though," and then it's like he has a good idea.
It's great. This is okay. Thank you for bringing this up. This is the thing I love about this movie. Yes, he goes.
You're
like,
a kid watching this movie, and you've had that experience of feeling timid in a room,
correct,
in a group.
But he goes like, "We could." No, never mind. And Miss Spider's like, "No, say it, James."
Right. And Spiker would have shut him down.
Time Bandits is another movie that I think does this well.
Okay.
The sort of like
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Kids should be listened to.
Right. Right.
You should listen to what they say.
And it's a classic kid anxiety. It's like I'm just gonna get
no
laughed
one can hear
at.
me. No one understands
stupid.
me.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Right. But like Time Bandits has the crazy ending where it's like he tries to warn his parents and they don't hear him, even still after he's gone on this journey.
Right.
But it's this thing that's so lovely, especially after he's had these fucking horrible abusive aunts, that the bugs like want to hear what he has to say,
right,
and are so proud of him when he comes up with anything.
Right, they're very supportive.
Idea,
it's a real collective.
Yes,
this is not some tale of like the bugs are at war with each other.
No,
because like I'm a spider and I don't like centipedes.
Start shit with everyone
he's
a little
a
bit, but they come to love him. But yes, no, they like, and it leads to the. I mean, well, the family song comes later, but yes.
The family song it's after eating the peach.
But when they're all like it's sort of triumphant, they go like, and it was all thanks to the brilliant idea from James. Like they just really they want to boost this kid.
He's not had a lot of W's.
No.
He's been kind of in his L era, one might say. So yeah, it's good. He needs some wins. Yeah. What else happens? I mean,
Mrs. Spider uses, her webs to hook the birds. I like that her web is just like there's a hatch on her back and a little spool comes out. That she's like mechanical.
Right.
I also feel like she looks like her legs are just the armatures they use under stop motion puppets, like not even dressed.
That's interesting. I mean, she's got these boots, that are like 6 feet high or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like she's got these giant boots, which are cool. But yeah, her legs are sort of mechanical looking. They look like corkscrews.
They look like they have hinges in their knees as well.
Glowworm looks like Florence Foster Jenkins, right? I mean, her whole bit is that she hangs out inside like the little lamp.
She has power over light.
Yeah.
Whenever they're like, turn the lights on, then the whole peach gets lit.
She's cool. And then just the black and white aesthetic she's got going on is cool.
Yeah.
So,
but yes, you get to the peach number, which
are we going to talk about how the shark is mechanical?
Yes, let's talk about it. Let's talk.
Because I don't think we can ignore that.
But this is the book logic shit where it's like, where's the rhino? In the clouds. What's the shark? A robot.
It's a robot shark.
It's very cool design. Like the giant mouth that kind of winnows. Yeah.
But the art style too, the way it's animated looks so incredible. It really feels like the illustration has come to life.
Sort of
that
steampunky.
Particular
the way
like
the teeth
object.
spin.
It's also
which becomes its downfall eventually.
It is wild to me that like
they throw the thing back.
Selleck has made 5 movies, and each of the movies has a different design language. Like he does a thing I like about him is he brings on different people and sort of designs a world off of their style rather than like. You cannot quantify what the Henry Selick style is because the first movie he's obviously working off of Tim Burton.
Yeah.
This movie he's working off of Lane Smith.
And Roald Dahl or whatever.
Right. Monkey Bone, I don't know who it is, but you're taking this like underground cartoonist art style.
Yeah.
Coraline, it doesn't look like the David McKee illustrations.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I mean, Coraline,
but it has its own look.
It does. I mean, the characters sort of have the big exaggerated heads and faces, like here, like James here.
They look like dolls in Coraline.
And Coraline is a little different. And
right.
I mean,
I also feel like
what a masterpiece.
As a kid, I would read
Wendell
all
and
these.
Wild. They look very different. I would say.
Right. Yeah. I think all his films look different.
Saw that, right?
I did.
I think they all have a different design sensibility, and as a kid, I would read all the like art of making of books for animated films. And you'd see these concept drawings, character designs, where you're like, that's so cool. Why can't it look like that?
Mm-hmm.
The thing you hear so often from people who work in animation is they just end up going back to like, let's do the simplest, roundest, cleanest version of the design. But you look through like the Art of Toy Story book, and there's a draft where like William Joyce designed every single character. And you're like, fuck, that's cool. What if they all had that distinctive a look or any of those things? Selleck's one of the only directors in animation where I feel like he will actually just pick one of the weirdest interpretations of one of the concept artists. Yeah.
William Joyce's Buzz.
Oh my God.
Kind of cool.
I love
That's
that.
so surprising.
If you can look up William Joyce's Rex.
I'll try and find
But this is what I'm saying. He'll like bring on different illustrators. I think it maybe stems from the fact that his first film is riffing on someone else's art style in its very inception, right? But he'll like bring on different designers and then he'll just be like, you designed the aesthetics of this film. And this is a movie where every character looks like a incredibly cool, rejected concept design where Disney was like, that's too weird. You can't do that. You have to make it look more normal.
And what I love about what he does with it is that even the most complex little bits of the designs move independently. Like I'm looking at Nightmare Before Christmas right now, and I'm remembering how Jack Skellington's little collar,
his bow tie, it
like unfurls and furls all the time.
Yes. It feels like he just gets so excited at the potential of, oh my God, wait a second. If Centipede has suspenders, then we can use that. He can propel himself. Like, he's a guy who just gets so excited by the possibilities of motion with these characters.
I can't find his Rex, which is too bad because I want to see it. But now I'm just thinking about Dinosaur Bob and how much I love that one.
It looks wild.
Yeah.
The biggest concept art thing for me was when I saw designs for Frozen and Elsa, or the character that like later became Elsa, had this like ermine like cloak,
yes,
like a queen would have, like white fur thing.
I'm going to show you right now what you're talking about.
They were the little guys were alive, the little ermines, and they would look at them.
Yeah,
look at that. Can you imagine?
That was when it was gonna like
2D.
Elsa as a villain too.
And right, she was going to
before
be a
they
straight
landed
villain.
on the sister thing that became the most successful thing in the history of movies. A very profitable change.
Let it go.
Let it go. But yes,
fuck, this is cool though. Look at this GIF.
It's so.
I mean, the
good.
whole thing with Frozen to me is like, even if you keep the story as it is, I would just love to see it.
But this is the thing. You look at things like this and you go, God, I wish the whole movie looked like that. And Selleck movies are the movies where I think the whole movie looks like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And not only that, the ideas like what if everything moved all the time are actually seen through to completion.
What? It's a furry
David's
drawing
just
of Frozen
showing, what is
Ermine.
this? Let me see.
I don't want to see that.
Oh, I don't like this. This sucks.
Well, I Googled her Elsa Frozen Ermine,
I don't know that
and
that's
guess
concept
what?
art.
People took it in a certain direction, okay?
A thing, I talked a lot about Selleck's camera movement in the Nightmare episode because that was so revolutionary with stop motion that he was like, I'm going to shoot this like it's a live action film.
Right.
And Nightmare has these crazy, like Maxo Fools, like sort of sweeping, endless movement shots.
Yes.
This has a little bit less of it, mostly because it takes place in pretty contained spaces.
Right.
Even when you're outdoors, you're on a peach in the middle of
peach.
Yes, Int Peach, Ext Peach.
Yeah, well,
those are the two main locations of the film.
Top of Peach.
There's a thing that happens less in this film, although it does happen a little. It happens a lot in Nightmare, and I forgot to mention it. That he does that is astonishing.
What's that?
Henry Selick will like have his characters if they gesticulate wildly out of frame, especially because he has characters with such extended limbs,
Long
right?
arms, yes.
The camera will like slightly pan a little bit to catch their arm extending,
That is cool.
as if there is like a human cinematographer trying to catch up with what that actor is doing on that take. He will do that.
It makes it feel less static, right? It makes it feel more like a real thing you're watching.
Some of the scenes where Grasshopper is walking, I notice especially when he's getting in this Peach, Delicious Peach musical number, and he starts stomping in the peach like it's a fucking wine stomping or whatever. When he walks up the stairs that are being formed by Inchworm, the camera is like struggling to keep up with him. There's shit like that where he just understands the logic of, and it's like, that makes everything so much more difficult to not just involve camera movements, but involve camera movements that feel like they are unexpected.
Right.
But it does ground you in a certain reality of making the thing feel real.
Right.
You know, because you're playing with the language of what you know, quote unquote, real movies look like. And there's that sort of choreography. Nightmare has the same thing where it's like, he doesn't have that much dancing in his musical numbers, but the choreography of the movement is so specific. Characters are so perfectly timed with each other, where like on the lyrics of the song, Inchworm is contorting himself into stairs for him to walk up perfectly at the moment he wants to step into this bucket. Oh, that's great. I think every preparation of peach looks great. The thing I think looks most delicious is the peach beer.
Sure.
I would drink that.
And I also like that this musical number gives everyone their own like little siloed off solo in their own style.
I just wanted to though say before we get to the eating of the peach, a favorite trope of all time of a young Ben is when a character be hungry. And
didn't know what he was gonna say.
No.
And all of a sudden he look at his friend. They turn to a dang roast, a hot roast.
Someone turns into a turkey leg or whatever.
It's still, to me, I'm like, it's still the funniest bit.
Yeah.
And it's funny
so funny.
in this movie too, because they turn into food that they kind of look, that they evoke.
Yes.
Like Grasshopper turns into a bottle of wine and a wedge of cheese.
Right.
Oh, so they like, right. It's not even
It's
physically.
the same shapes, but also the attitude.
Right.
Yeah.
It's they're
This is what I'm saying. Like,
esprit.
these characters are so crystallized. Like they're so locked in on these different types. It's also just funny where it's like we're used to this trope of what you're talking about. They're stranded at sea. They're so hungry and starving. The fact that they have to be reminded that they live inside.
I
of
know. And that he's like the one, you
right.
know?
And that the song turns into not just like, oh, we have this endless food supply, but like we can prepare it anyway.
Yeah, but I remember that stressing me out, especially in the book when I was a kid. I was
Well,
like,
don't
you
eat
can't-
too much.
Can't eat the whole goddamn thing. You need
Yeah.
to live in this thing.
Yeah.
That's another good bit too that I feel like is a very Ben bit when they need to get the attention of the birds to hook them, and they use inchworm as bait.
Yeah.
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 Wiggling him out at the top. Yeah.
I mean, because that's mischievous.
Yeah. I love inchworm's. He's got like the shape changing
With his
sunglasses
expression.
that reflect his expressions.
It's good.
But come on. Do we talk about the pirates enough?
Well, that's the
trying
next
to think
thing.
of,
No,
yeah,
I'm
that's
going-
the next
I'm going
thing.
in
I know.
order
I'm
here.
trying to figure out what we're missing.
Right.
here,
So
yes.
they realize they're lost.
Yeah.
They need a compass.
Centipede falls asleep at the
Right.
wheel.
Yes.
No, he navigates.
They get frozen. They're stuck in snowy territory. They're going to end up in New Jersey. They realize there's a pirate ship at the bottom. They need to go get a compass. And Centipede has like pissed everyone off.
Right.
So he heroically jumps to the bottom, even though everyone thinks it's pesticide.
Right.
Because he has to prove his worth. And we get to the sunken pirate ship, manned by Jack Skellington, Donald Duck.
Yep.
Then there's like a brute.
Yep.
There's one classic sort of like striped shirt pirate. It's a good gang.
It's a good gang.
One guy looks like a Viking.
Mm.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like the idea of like all of these different sort of all these characters have ended up in this frozen
Yes.
land, like the pirates, the Vikings.
Yes.
They've all sort of gotten
ducks.
stranded in the same place. The ducks.
Yeah.
It's like a ship graveyard.
Right.
The ship
Well,
graveyard.
Donald
Yeah.
Duck's a sailor. Right. It's different types of nautical characters.
Right.
I like that Centipede literally calls him a Skellington.
Yes.
Mhm.
I think they literally I think the origin of this, they literally had like jackheads.
Yeah.
And they were just like, well, we can use
It's
these.
easy.
We just
Save
have
us
them rolling
money
around.
if one of the
Yeah.
characters is Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's nice. I mean, because he doesn't work that much considering how big Nightmare is. These are really his only two movies.
wait, he wasn't in
He's
I don't know.
in
I was
G.I.
trying to
Joe
think of a funny-
Retaliation,
I was
but it's a
trying to
small
think-
part.
He beat me to it. I was trying to think of just some fucking irrelevant movie for him to be in. He's in Journey 2, The Mysterious Island.
Yeah.
I think he has
Um,
an OnlyFans now.
He does have
unfortunately.
OnlyFans, and it's
Yeah.
actually
Who are we
pretty good.
talking about?
Jack Skellington.
Oh.
I don't judge, but he seems sad. That's the problem with Jack
Right,
Skellington's OnlyFans.
People should do whatever they want to do,
Right.
but he doesn't actually
He doesn't
seem into
seem
it.
happy. Yeah.
Look, let me give you.
His bony dick.
I mean, I'd like to see it. I'm reading some Lane Smith quotes right here.
Okay.
About how he designed these characters. He
Mhm.
wanted the spider to be sexy, so he was stumped for a long time on how to do that.
Well, mission
Please.
accomplished.
His big
How did
big
you crack it?
inspiration was Diana Rigg in the Avengers. Yes.
Cool.
Yep. The earthworm, he was like, give him sunglasses because he's blind.
And he's got the little collar.
Mhm.
yeah, which is
Yeah.
cute. He kicked the silkworm out because the silkworm is a lump in the corner that doesn't move. He just thought it was like boring.
Bad. Yeah.
There's this whole thing I forgot to mention that Selleck is like mad that Tim had stolen a lot of artists for Mars Attacks.
Oh,
Like he was kind of
interesting.
vacuuming up talent. Again, look, Selleck sometimes
Sure.
makes things sound very bad. You know what I mean? Like he has sort of a negative view of life. But he was like, Tim is like vacuuming my animators to go do Mars Attacks.
Well, that was the thing. Mars Attacks was going to be stop motion.
It was, right. And then they eventually
it was
go to ILM.
late in the game that they switched to CGI. You can see there are a lot of tests.
Yeah, which probably would have been fucking cool as shit.
Well, it's like Harryhausen shit.
Yeah.
Like, it was perfect. I remember when they did the Burton exhibit at MoMA, they had the videos on a loop and they had the stop motion puppets. It was the exact same design. It looked exactly the same. When they did it in CGI, they just scanned the puppet, but it was going to be done in a Harryhausen style. So I think, he absorbed most of those people.
The centipede had 20 joints in the face alone because of the cigar. That was like really hard to do in stop motion.
Mushy.
Yeah.
I just like that they all have different textures
Me too.
It's that thing. It's a thing I like about Toy Story. Is that you can have characters with completely different aesthetics coexisting,
right? Because it's like any toy is a toy, so
right. And these toys were made by different companies, so they have different styles. And this movie basically, even though they all come out of Lane Smith, chooses to be like different design rules for each character.
Yeah.
Like he looks spongy.
Peach was 6 feet tall. That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
What are you Googling there, Emma?
I'm just looking at centipede pictures. He looked like the Stinky Cheese Man.
He's the centipede is probably the closest to the Stinky Cheese Man.
That's the kind of classic Lane Smith, like sort of collage face, different
like triangle
shapes.
Nose.
Yes. It is crazy to think about. Essentially, Selleck working with two crews.
Yeah.
Like, moving between like doing this live action photography and the stop motion stuff. There's 2 listed DPs on this movie. And one thing they worried about was that the peach looked too much like a butt.
Oh, it's got that big ass crack.
Yes, it does.
My favorite number is Family, which is the one that comes after the pirate sequence when they're all sort of triumphant.
Yes.
There's a little moment that I think is really nice when Ladybug compliments Spider on a good job. Especially in stop motion and things like this, where an animation is still so expensive and films are kept to such a short running time. When people choose to include moments that small, it says a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Yes, especially because in stop motion, every moment is fucking a lot of work. So,
yes. And I think this number is really sweet. It's when James puts together that Grasshopper was the one who played the music he heard outside his window.
Right.
I sent this number to you and JJ over text the other night because I think it's just so visually inventive.
When you're saying that we were a family.
Well, yeah. But also, JJ, our researcher, was saying, like, it bums him out. His daughter is 3 now.
Right.
And he's, like, watching all these movies and reading about Selleck. And he's like, I feel like she's just a
little young.
Little bit
Not
too
quite
young.
Ready. Yeah.
But then he was also like, on the other hand, I showed her the Nightmare trailer. She thought the thing with the shrunken head and the present box was funny. We go to Walmart. Everything is Jack Skellington. If you're, like, walking around stores in October. When we go to the grocery store, everything is fucking Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
Maybe she's not too young. And then the next day, my friend Derek, my oldest friend, whose daughter is 3 going on 4, said to me, he was like, I'm not going to say his daughter's name, has gotten like obsessed with Jack Skellington now. And I was like, really? And he was like,
he's a cool MFer.
She saw it around, and then I played her a couple of the songs, and I've showed her some of the images. I haven't tried watching the movie. Now she loves This Is Halloween. Like, it is. So I was saying to JJ, he was like, I don't know if she can watch it yet. And James and the Giant Peach is the one that is like, has the scariest stuff in it, I would argue, of any of the Selleck movies. I think the stuff with the aunts is incredibly bleak. The rhino, some of the shark skeleton pirate stuff is like a little more harrowing. When this movie comes out, James was 4, my brother. So I was like comparing it against that, right? And I knew that he loved it and he was a kid who would get fairly scared at movies. But there are things like the family number that are like genuinely sweet and tender and sort of soft and pleasant in this movie, more so than the other Sellecks.
I think it's funny. I was just talking to my friend Claire.
The resting space of this movie is more pleasant than the other Sellecks.
Yeah, the Peach is such a warm, happy place.
Yeah, and they're so nice to each other.
They do be nice. I was talking to my friend Claire, and she said like Coraline, when she was a kid, was so frightening.
Yeah.
The concept that she couldn't watch it.
Right.
Coraline is his most, Nightmare is horror as well.
You have to kind of remove Monkey Bone because that's its own thing, but he taps into pretty primal sort of fairy tale fears.
You haven't seen Wendell and Wild yet, but Wendell and Wild, similar thing.
As I gather.
You'll see. Do you want to see my daughter holding her Jessie bath toy?
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, who got that for her?
You did. That's
Thank
what I'm showing you. Because she was trying to take her baby, which is a doll, to daycare, and I'm just like, I just don't want her to do it because I'm afraid it'll like get lost or whatever. She would not fucking let go of Jesse, so she walked in with Jesse. Anyway,
got some future present
interesting thing about the songs. Yeah. Do you know who Selleck's first choice was?
Not Elfman.
No.
Someone who usually works in movies or not?
No. A pop musician, a great musician.
Kate Bush?
Elvis Costello.
Ooh.
Wow.
He threw that out to Disney, and Selleck said their alarm went off, and they said, too weird. Like, no.
Yeah.
Would love to see that.
Yeah.
His second choice was Andy Partridge from XTC, who actually wrote a demo, and he said it was very beautiful, but Disney couldn't make a deal with him. And so Randy Newman, who was Disney's pick, came in.
Comfortable. Yeah.
And at that time, he'd just done Toy Story, and but he liked the Randy stuff. He wanted British music hall music, is how Selleck puts it. And he said Randy got that.
I think this is very outside of his usual style.
It is.
Yeah. It is. I mean, the song he sings at the end is the one that sounds like a Randy Newman song.
It's weird that they get to New York and then they all sing I Love LA, but apart from that.
Yes, absolutely. They do this family sequence, which is just lovely. I love the shot of, I also just think the fucking design choice of the fence from the peach rolling down the hill becoming the weird spiral staircase around the peach.
Love it.
Is such a good idea. Gives them so much latitude in terms of making the thing feel less claustrophobic because it's like there's more space they can explore. But that end of Family where they're all like dancing up the staircase and then it turns into the mobile and they're one of the planets in the sky.
They're the sun.
It's cool. It's good shit.
It is cool. I feel like you're more into this movie because it's more rooted in your childhood.
Yeah.
But like rewatching this movie, it was exactly as I remembered. I was just like, there's no foot put wrong. You know what I mean? Like there's no moment in it that feels wasted or pandering.
And obviously just what an incredible
is the Selleck thing.
Technical
That's what I'm saying.
and artistic achievement.
Yeah. It's not like a lot of Disney movies from this era, the late 90s, where you're starting to see like just kind of like crass sort of like kid stuff creeping in that feels like hyperactive
feels
or
very
patronizing.
specific.
Yeah.
And individualistic.
Things like whereas like this where it's like a mechanical shark or a cloud rhino, you're like, how did they get this in? How did they like sneak this by?
Yes, it's wild. Right. So that's the final thing after the family sequence is he sees the rhino. He has the final confrontation with the rhino.
Yes. He has the dream. Sky. I don't know when the dream comes in. We have to talk about the dream. The dream is
fascinating.
Beautiful.
Right. Where it's like cutout photos on puppets.
It's like a collage.
It's very Terry Gilliam.
Yes.
But it's 3-dimensional. Like they're taking photographs on top of models. Right. And he's a caterpillar.
And he's eating a peach or something.
Yeah.
And then the ants come. And they're like, well, we're gonna get you. And they spray the poison.
So then does he wake up from that and face the rhino?
The rhino's in the dream.
Right.
This is like between something. I don't know when this happens in the movie.
Sponge show up in the dream too. They're like,
that's what we're talking.
Yeah.
That's
right. The ants.
But there is the
right. When every time you say ants,
the human
ants.
The ants.
Because I keep thinking, do I want to be an ant?
There's the final confrontation with the rhino where he yells at it in the sky and says, "You're not real."
Yes. That's
I'm not afraid.
Although the rhino is very much real and it did eat his parents.
I know, that's what's wild.
But I guess it's like maybe it's like he has to conquer his fear of that. Or
good for him, like it worked. But he's wrong.
That
the rhino does exist.
He's real, and I hope it will be brought to justice.
Yes.
Because rhinos shouldn't be eating people willy-nilly. Yes. I don't know how fair I need it to be. Maybe it's unfair.
Did they eat them or did it just trample them to death?
This is the thing.
Ate them.
Dahl and the movie both specify that the rhino ate them, which is not something that rhinos do.
From
they
the
don't
clouds.
eat people.
They're herbivores.
The look of the rhino
grass.
is like incredible too.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
Like hippos will chomp a person. They don't want to swallow them.
Sure.
But they've got those big mouths.
They're so dangerous.
But I don't look at a rhino and go like, what I'm afraid of from this thing is the mouth.
The mouth.
I'm like, I don't want to get spiked.
The mouth's almost hard to identify.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
A rhino. It's a little
like,
hidden.
This thing is all spiked.
Yeah.
I'm not really looking past the horn.
Everyone stop. We got a quick note from our sponsors this week, Masterclass, and we're excited.
We're excited. We love Masterclass. Do you know about Masterclass, Ben?
I mean, I've heard good things. I want to hear more.
Well, look, Masterclass is this company that lets you learn from the world's best mind anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. They've got new classes every month, and it's for everything. I'm just looking right now. John Douglas teaches how to think like an FBI profiler. What that sounds incredible. That guy, that's the he's the Mindhunter guy. He wrote Mindhunter.
Oh, that's sick.
He's the guy who like invented criminal profiling. But like look, Naomi Campbell teaches modeling fundamentals. You want to learn how to model?
Mariah Carey teaches using the voice as an instrument.
That sounds cool. I mean, she's good at that.
She's pretty damn good at it.
Oh, Aaron Franklin teaches Texas-style barbecue. You know, the Franklin's barbecue guy. Bob Iger, he's in the news. He teaches business strategy and leadership. That man's a shark. Don't you want him teaching you stuff? Look, there's over 180 classes from a range of world-class instructors, and that thing you've always wanted to do is closer than you think. Okay? Griffin is a big fan of the sort of arty stuff. I've watched the Martin Scorsese film class. It is so much fun. Man, Werner Herzog, Aaron Sorkin.
What does Werner teach you about? Does he teach you about how life is meaningless?
Yeah, I think he probably gets into it. The Ron Howard one is really good, honestly. Very, very winning guy. R.L. Stine, Goosebumps man, teaching writing for young audiences. That's cool. I highly recommend you check it out. This holiday, give one annual membership and get one free. Go to masterclass.com/check today. That's masterclass.com/check. Terms apply.
He has his final confrontation with the rhino, and then he wakes up.
Yeah.
The light's flickering.
Yeah.
He magically turns back to a human boy.
He sure does.
He crawls out of the peach.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
We're skipping stuff.
Okay. Sorry.
We skipped some of the
Newman
pirate stuff.
Okay.
We skipped the fact that the centipede goes in.
Yes.
Because he failed.
I said that.
You said
I did
that.
say that. Yes.
But then Spider and James go in after him.
Yes.
To save him because they're like, well, we need to help him because he's our friend.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Camaraderie. Sure.
And then they're in a storm, right? They get stuck in a storm.
Yes.
Which is where the lightning.
That's when the
rhino
end up in New Jersey.
Right. That's the storm over New Jersey, the perpetual hurricane.
Yes.
Right. New Jersey's just a cyclone at all times, just dropping wolf spiders on children's heads. Yeah, and then they end up. I mean, they get speared by the Empire State Building. I mean, it's a great image.
I think all of the bugs get kind of
in the storm. They all get scattered.
James is like,
they're trying to hold on to the birds.
Right. They go up with the birds.
Yes.
He stays on the peach, so they get separated.
Yes.
And he ends up on top of the Empire State
Building.
Building.
And has his confrontation. Right. Gets
Yes.
knocked out. Wakes up.
He's like, "Where's that damn building?"
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, what a
Am I
great
really in New York?
Yeah.
Where's the Empire State Building?
Kid, you're on top of it. And then the zoom out to like weird construction paper Empire State Building and the like most classical like Randy Newman New York music.
Look, anytime I forget where I am, I just look around until I see the Empire State Building. I'm like, right, New York City. That's where I am.
But it's another thing I love. It's like you talking about how tiny the set is for the house at the beginning in live action. This like, oh, you're in the middle of New York City. Here's the Empire State Building. The set seems 6 inches wide. It's like one tiny street corner.
It reminded me of the Hudsucker Proxy miniatures.
Yes.
That's exactly the vibe.
My favorite aesthetic of all time.
There you go.
Yeah.
If a giant peach slimed me from way up above, I'd freak the fuck.
Oh, you wouldn't like that?
Like an air conditioner drip. I'm like, what the fuck was that?
I guess
a sticky peach like syrup.
As much as I love a
peach,
peach, I do love a peach, but you don't. You know, when it gets all over your hand and it's all sticky.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it would ruin my fucking day.
Yeah.
I could not stop thinking about that while I was watching this movie. Like, they're so sticky right now.
So sticky.
They'd
They
be
do
sticky the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
There's no water to wash themselves off with.
I love that New York City gets such a bad rap. People like to say we're a bunch of mean grumps. We got a rude tude, right? Everyone in New York, any passerby in the street, you're going to give them the business.
They're always saying we never sleep.
Yes.
We sleep plenty.
They say our apple is big.
They're always
big
going
peach,
on about our
damn it.
damn apple.
Yeah. Talk about the peach for once. No, but I like that he lands here and everyone is really nice to him and
Yes.
happy and excited and wants to help him.
I mean, the cop takes a second to, sort
Gotta
things
warm
out.
up. What?
Right.
Yeah, you've never seen Peach this big before in his life.
That's true. He has never seen a big peach before.
The little girl with the glasses and the telescope, who's the first one to notice him on top of it, is this Sirocco Dunlap, who was a writer on the Tick.
Oh, that's cool.
JD mentioned it to me, and I didn't realize that that is her
Oh, that's so cool.
as a child actor. Yeah.
I mean, how does Spiker and Sponge show up? We don't care, right? They're just there.
They drove through the ocean.
They've been following.
Fucking ocean.
Right. Water spills out of the car.
She has crabs on her butt.
They show up before the bugs show up, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember
Yes.
the order.
Yes.
Because that's the
Yes.
whole thing where they're like, it's our peach. And
They
the
have
cop
a
is like,
picture
well,
of
it
the
sounds
peach.
like it's their
Right.
The
peach.
cop takes that as face value.
Yes.
And then James is like, they are mean.
Yeah.
They are bad people. And so they attack him with axes.
I love James has the courage, that moment where he starts saying like,
Yeah.
they were mean.
Yes.
And everyone's like, what?
How could you be mean to a
They
child
didn't
this
feed
cute?
me. Yeah.
And then they make the tactical error of trying to kill him with axes, which reveals that they are indeed
The
mean.
shift is quick.
Right.
I said, like Joanna Lumley, when she's cracking her neck, they put such exaggerated sound effects on it. Like they've really become like these like Grand Guignol monsters. But yes, the bugs come help him. Miss Spider, along with the crane operator, they web up
Spiker and Sponge.
Spiker
yes,
and
right,
Sponge.
yep.
My favorite moment in the movie is just James saying, "These are my friends who I was telling you about." And then the cops move the spotlight around, the searchlight around, and they introduce them one at a time, and the audience applauds. The New
I would
Yorkers who
applaud.
are gathered around.
That's what we
Empire
do
It's kind of
here.
like a Lindbergh vibe, where it's like New York is like, something landed in New York. Let's go check it out. Someone's here.
But this has been happening in real time. It's been happening in all of 5 minutes.
Right.
And he's like, "These are my friends," and people are so invested in the notion of the characters. The inchworm,
I mean, I'd
Great
want to
Green
meet him.
Grasshopper,
I'd want to meet him. Wouldn't you?
Miss Spider, Mr. Centipede. I just love it that they each get a little bow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a good. You're right. I mean, and then they all get like a New York specific job. Like they all get a business.
Well,
that-
this is
that
in
suits
credits.
them,
Right,
right? You know,
right.
like what is it? Miss Spider has like a cool,
But
sexy
you're jumping
nightclub.
ahead. You're jumping ahead. That's
You're
the end
right.
credits.
Because they
They prove that James is the owner of the
Yes,
peach, that he can live with the bugs.
they eat the peach.
They eat the peach. Go ahead.
Have a taste.
Right. It's not going to last forever. And then they live in a fucking
I mean,
peach pit.
my favorite thing about the book, the thing I think as a kid, I was just like, the peach is in Central Park and I could go see it.
Yes.
Even though I never did and I never asked to, in my head, I was like, it's there.
It is
Yeah.
true, yeah.
Yeah,
This
like
is a
he
true-
does
Yeah.
live in the peach pit and it is in Central
Oh,
Park.
another nice moment is when Spiker and Sponge are coming and just trying to drown him out.
Mm.
It's the magic man in the shadows who
That's
says, "Let the
true.
kid
Yes.
talk." Like
Yes.
he's just gently pushing the story along.
Ben's trying to get the credits queued up here.
Yeah.
yeah. I want to get these
I think
verbatim.
there was something when you're a kid.
The
There's something
headlines.
so liberating
yeah.
to the idea, even though like I had a happy home
Yes.
life, where you're just like, I just get my own fucking peach pit house. And I get to do whatever I
I
want.
got bug
I
friends.
got bug
Who are
friends.
my family, but they're not going to ride me like parents.
Yeah, exactly.
They're kinda cool.
Anything goes.
The bugs are like kind of like hip modern Brooklyn parents who like call their children buddy.
Yes, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. Centipede runs for mayor.
Well, I just
What?
He's telling the story to the kids.
Oh, sure.
The Magic Man reintroduces himself, and
Yeah.
he says, and James had all the friends in the world. Suddenly, he had more friends than he knew what to do with. Kids would come every day to want to hear the story, and eventually, he thought he needed a way to tell the story to more people all at once, and that is exactly what you've just seen, which is how the book ends, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which was a thing that fucking is a
When you're a kid, you-
mind boiler. You're telling me this is a book and you know that, and there's a reason it exists. It makes it feel more real in that way you're talking about, where like I believe the peach pit's there because it's like you're telling me
this is truth, right? This is in this book.
Was to communicate a necessary truth.
I just think right now with the Adams administration doing such a poor job, we need someone like Centipede to enter the mayoral race and clean things up.
So let's look at these headlines. Centipede enters race.
They do the little
Brooklyn
spinning newspaper thing at the end.
Brooklyn boy promises the moon and then some.
Okay. Next one is that's the Mercury City. That's what that paper is. The next one is Grasshopper debuts phenomenal four-handed fiddling, 20-minute ovation for Brahms violin concerto. The other story is Soviet achievement ahead of prediction by 3 years.
All right, fair enough. That's in the Daily News, of course, a real newspaper.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Earthworm smooth move. We like smooth men. Signs on as skin cream spokesman.
This one is very specific.
Yes. Okay, next spinning paper is... Okay, this is Daily News.
Dr. Ladybug.
Delivers 1,000th baby.
She becomes an obstetrician, okay?
She's holding like one in each arm. Yeah.
I guess the idea there is just like ladybugs are nurturing.
Yeah, that's not really been established.
All right, now
they have
Spider.
Okay, this is my favorite publication.
And this paper is on the town.
God, I would go to her club all the time.
It looks her beautiful heart-shaped face.
It looks like Art Deco-ish, you know?
Yeah.
Like it looks really
It's like
classy.
some Art Deco burlesque joint.
Yeah.
I would be here
lavish
every Friday
opening.
night.
Jazz dinner dancing.
Oh, I love all those things. Go on.
All right. And then we have
Glowworm. Right? Glowworm shines.
I love
another
that.
Daily
the
News.
glowworm becomes the light
New
in the
York's
torch
new
of the Statue
nightlight.
of Liberty.
Yeah.
saves city of New York millions in power.
Great.
Damn, we're spending too much money on that goddamn torch.
And then this is my favorite one.
Aw.
Daily News. Family celebration. Family celebration. Surprise party delights James.
Okay, look. I'm not trying to be rude, but was this a slow news day? There's nothing going
This is what I was
on.
gonna say.
One kid had a birthday.
The lead is he was delighted.
Which is like fucking dog bites man. I mean, if he's not delighted, then I'm interested.
Even as a kid, I'm meeting this movie very earnestly.
Yeah.
I remember that feeling like that wouldn't be the front page.
Like, that's at best A6.
That wouldn't. Even if the photo was front page.
Right, then it's like look inside for, it's
Right.
essentially a party report.
But you're like,
right?
no, there's a full column there. Surprise
going,
party delights James. That's the last
Is that
one.
it?
Yeah.
Is there
it
anything
zooms on his
else?
face.
I think
He's
it
got
like
a nice
zooms in like the
family.
end of The
Yeah.
Shining.
Yeah.
It does zoom in like the end of the show.
He's been at the surprise party the whole time.
And they're all there. Look at their little
they're all there,
faces.
which
They're all
is
there.
nice. And then we're rolling credits.
The Randy Newman song starts playing.
Movie
Yes,
rolls.
the fifth song, of course, Good News.
Be your paper spinning fast. James had birthday. Someone had to clock out work early.
Let me see if there's anything else interesting in the dossier here. They used 24 stages. Fuck, that's crazy. The peach was 6 feet tall.
Mhm.
Pretty cool. I'd love to see that peach.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if they got it anywhere.
Yeah.
I think they got rid of it.
It should be at the Academy Museum or the Louvre.
Yes, they should put it. They should roll it to the
They
Louvre.
should roll it all the way over to the Louvre.
Selick, did want the live action to feel phony, opera set,
Love it.
kind of monochromatic.
Mhm.
That's his thing. He loves Ray Harryhausen, so he was very into the sort of interplay of stop motion and live action in the end there when they're
Yeah.
in New York. He wanted it to land. He wanted New York to feel like a Busby Berkeley musical. Like,
Yeah.
he didn't want them to land in like 90s
I
New
think
York.
he nailed it.
Right. This
Well, they
was
have,
a
like,
We're Back situation.
The really old like little police cruisers.
Yeah, exactly.
Puttering down
Yeah.
the street.
And as you said, the line of newspaper man in the phone booths
Oh,
yelling
yeah.
out their headlines.
They've got their little scratch pads on.
What are their fucking lines? Like Peach Pit, Pummels.
Oh God, I wish I'd written it down.
It's like 3 great lines in a row. Yeah.
CGI was handled by Sony Imageworks.
Okay.
They do some. Right. I told you that he wanted Elvis Costello. First choice for Centipede was Fisher Stevens and then Bruno Kirby. He had to
Interesting.
be talked into Richard Dreyfuss because Dreyfuss was like in the Disney,
Stable.
stable because of Holland's Opus.
Right. I can see them wanting a bigger name. It's surprising though that he Dreyfuss basically does a great Bruno Kirby in this.
Yeah, it's true. Right.
He does
Kirby
nail
probably
it.
would have crushed it.
Yeah.
Susan wasn't 100% behind it at first for Sarandon. Sometimes actors who haven't done voices before don't really realize that we care and it has to be great. It took her a while to take it seriously, but then we started showing her the puppet and she found a way into the role.
She was like, this is fucking hot.
She was like,
I look like this.
Simon Callow, 6 months went by. We hadn't finished recording him because he'd been off directing operas.
Wow.
Miriam Margolyes obviously a total pro because she was in Babe, which she's amazing in that.
Yes.
When they were shooting the live action, she was just like, I can do a voice. Like, have me do a voice.
Cool.
Because I'm good at that.
Yeah.
And obviously her voice is very different. Like she's doing a completely different performance.
Yeah.
Film got good reviews. Roger Ebert says that it had brought stop motion to a new plateau, saying the movement was so fluid. He didn't understand how it was even possible. Maslin thought it was great, a technological marvel. I do feel like this is the thing with a lot of these reviews, though, is it's like it's a focus on the technical side.
Yeah, I mean, I was even just looking here. Like Owen Gleiberman called the live action segments crude. Like there's that. I found a lot of that where people were just like, "Why is this so nasty?"
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should shut the fuck up. Annie Awards that year.
Okay. What are the big? I mean, Hunchback obviously is the big animated movies.
This is what was kind of fucked up, if you ask me.
Okay.
I guess they were still working at a weird, like, oh, it's films from this date in this year to this date in this year.
Oh, that's annoying.
It's since last ceremony rather than within calendar year. So it loses
Toy Story
to Toy Story.
That's weird.
It loses to Toy Story.
This is why the Annies are no good.
It loses to Toy Story, which also wins directing. It wins producing.
Yeah, well, Toy Story was kind of a big hit.
Picture.
I don't know if you've seen that film, but it's actually pretty good.
Randy Newman beats himself for music. I feel like it won. There was it got trounced in all areas by this. But listen to this lineup here. It was Toy Story, Balto, whatever, Hunchback, James and the Giant Peach, Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, fuck.
Wow.
Ghost in the Shell made the 5.
Yeah.
That is funny to imagine. I know the Annies are not televised, but like a montage of Best Picture where it's like 4 children's films, then you're cutting in fucking Ghost of the Shell.
Yes. Well, and this was...
I love that movie so much.
It was an expanded, more nominees, but now they have voice acting for TV and film are 2 different categories.
Sure.
This was combined. Rob Paulson wins that year as Pinky on Pinky and the Brain.
That's weird. The Brain is funnier than... Well, Pinky is pretty funny, though.
Pinky's funny.
Yeah.
Paulson also just a
great
legend.
guy. Yeah. Come on, Maurice LaMarche.
I know. Here are the other nominees, okay? Sean Connery as Draco Dragonheart.
Phoned that shit in.
Dreyfuss as Mr. Centipede is the one nomination from this film. Jonathan Frakes as Xanatos on Gargoyles.
The villain from Gargoyles.
Yep.
I don't think I knew that was Frakes.
Not even Keith David. Tom Hanks as Sheriff Woody, Toy Story.
Unaware of that performance.
Tom Hulce as Quasimodo.
Yep.
Tony Jay as Judge Frollo.
Possibly my winner. I mean, an amazing performance.
Demi Moore as Esmeralda.
Sure, she's fine.
3 Hunchback nominations. But that's just a wild spread of...
Ghost in the Shell was one of those things that was such a big crossover that it was like in rental stores.
Yes.
And I would see it nestled among the cartoons.
Yeah.
And I would be like,
this doesn't belong here.
What is this?
Yeah.
What is this? Like, I wasn't
upsetting.
even mad about it. I was just like, can someone
Explain
understand
this.
to me what this is? It's a cartoon. It's clearly not for me.
Right.
And like, no one could because my mother did not know much about Japanese animation.
She failed,
But you know what fucking rules?
What? Ghost in the Shell. Box office. This movie flops.
It didn't do that well. It made $28 million.
It comes out March, April?
Came out April 12th, 1996.
Okay.
And it opens number 2 to $7.5 million.
Okay.
And number 1 at the box office is a legal thriller that was actually a huge hit. Well, no, actually, I take that back. It was actually a solid hit.
Is it a Grisham?
No, but it's in that style.
Primal Fear?
There you go. I was like, I don't want to give him much.
Yeah.
Don't want to give him Oscar nomination.
No, but I was thinking, I mean...
Yeah. It's a William Deal. Have you ever seen Primal Fear, Emma? Do you know the twist?
Nope.
Okay. I won't tell
it
you.
is. I
tell me.
only watched it in the last couple
It's
of
a
years.
movie with a famous twist.
I feel like I watched it during the pandemic. I'd argue the twist is the thing that works least well in the movie.
I agree, and I also think you see it coming a fucking mile away.
I actually think that film is underrated just a
it's a solid legal thriller.
And the more it gets caught up in the machinations of the thing that gave it an edge at the time, the less interesting it is. And the Norton performance does not hold up very well.
It was Edward Norton's breakout performance, and it's one of those classic Edward Norton performances where you're like, God, he's just doing like a thing.
I know.
You know, I like him as an actor often, but that fucking Motherless Brooklyn, fucking what else is he? You know, where it's just like, stop doing something.
Yeah.
Well, come on, there's another obvious one.
Well, there's the bit of that in the score.
The score, sure. I mean, I think he's amazing in Birdman, which is not even a movie I like.
No, I hate that movie. But he's incredible in it.
Really good in
he's
it, right? Like,
incredible
there's like
in it,
some performances where you're like, God damn.
No, I think he's great in all the Wes Anderson movies.
Yeah, he is. He's really good in that.
But he's good in the Glass Onion.
He is. You saw Glass Onion.
Oh yeah.
What's your take on him in Glass Onion?
He's good.
He's well cast. He's being deployed correctly.
A fun character that he can do very well.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've said this on mic before, but like Romilly saw Motherless Brooklyn and was like, why the fuck would anyone let him make that movie?
He tried.
And her perspective is she's just like the fifth guy in every Wes Anderson movie.
Oh, because it's been so long since he was like...
She's born in 1998. So I said to her, like, Romilly, you need to understand, at the turn of the century, he was undeniably...
He was the guy. Number one. Guy. He's the next fucking
And I sent her the Vanity Fair cover story in 1999 is, there's no doubt about it, Edward Norton is the actor of his generation. Well, and they're like, he's done 4 movies. Everyone agrees that he's De Niro. To the extent that when he does the score 2 years later, and it's like Brando, De Niro, Norton, it's like the final anointment of 3 generations.
Anyway.
Wild.
Number 1 at the box office. Number 2 is James and the Giant Peach. Number 3 is a hit comedy.
96. Is it a carry?
It made $124 million at the domestic box office.
Is it a carry?
No.
Big comedy star.
Yes, it is. But I feel like people just forget that this movie made $124 million in 1996.
Okay. It's not Robin Williams.
It is a Robin Williams.
It is a Robin Williams. In 96. So we're post Doubtfire. We're pre-Flubber.
Patch.
This is an adult
not
comedy.
Patch. Patch is 99.
Oh, okay.
This is an adult comedy. This is not a family comedy?
No. Huh. It's rated R, restricted. Age 17 and under, require parental, whatever.
And he's the main guy?
He sure is, but it is an ensemble.
It is an ensemble. And he's the top guy. It made 120. It's R-rated.
$124 million. And you would take that.
I would take it. I would take it. I would take it. Absolutely.
Oh, The Birdcage.
Oh, huge ass hit.
Birdcage.
That was a movie I feel like I remember my parents never do this, but they watched it multiple times.
That movie was like sort of a seismic cultural moment. And obviously it paints with a broad brush or whatever, but people kind of forget that like in the mid 90s, people were like, Robin Williams, Nathan Lane are like a gay couple. I'm going. I gotta be
Nathan
there.
Lane, who was like only a Broadway guy up until that point in time, basically. That's like his big, No, I feel like that movie's been brought up a lot recently in relationship to Bros and that film's underperformance at the box office.
Yeah.
It's obviously a different thing because we have like straight creative teams, straight actors other than Nathan Lane. But that movie was such a fucking
hit.
Huge ass hit.
Just people and it's an R-rated comedy.
Yes.
It's not even like a family comedy.
That is how I found out that homosexuality existed.
Well, sure. I think that's true for a lot of America. Wait, what now? What's going on?
A kid at school had seen it, and I was just like, tell me everything, because I was so impressed they had seen an R-rated movie.
Right.
And I was like, what's it about? And they were like, well, it's a gay couple. And I was like, slow down. What do you mean? And they were like, 2 guys who date each other. And I was like, that's not a thing. I remember pushing back on the kid being like, if that happened, I would have heard about it by now.
You were like 6 years old.
No one told me. I live in the West Village. What are you talking about?
No gay people around there.
I see lots of men who are very close friends. My uncles.
Number 4 at the box office is new this week.
My uncle's allowed to bring a good friend to Passover. It's a thing. Yeah.
Fucking shout out.
It's the same friend every time for years, and they live together.
Yeah. Number 4 at the box office.
It's like Bert and Ernie.
Yeah.
You know, I've been watching a lot of Sesame Street, and their relationship is odd. They don't share a bed.
No, they have 2 separate beds
Have
next to
the
each
little
other.
I Love Lucy beds.
Like,
right?
yeah, they're like a married
with
couple.
a B
in
and
the
an E. Right. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't want to share it with
And there
Ernie
was this,
either.
like, and it, well,
pain in the ass.
Crackers in bed.
yeah, Ernie is annoying.
Yeah, he's a huge
No,
pain in the ass.
I was
well,
just
of course you'll take the fucking Bert
Okay,
side.
listen to this. Listen, no,
course.
Griffin, listen to this, because I used to think like my
Yeah.
my memory of them was like, oh, Bert's a stick in the mud
Yeah.
and Ernie's fun. And then the episode I watched, Ernie, they're trying to go to bed, and Ernie's like playing the trumpet in bed.
Funny.
And Bert's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I need to play the trumpet to fall asleep.
Yep.
And Bert's like, that's annoying. And I'm like, yeah, like, don't do that.
Yeah, well, people have said that you're Bert and I'm Ernie.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It fits pretty well. There was that other meme recently of the like every podcast is this, and there was the Pixar one that was Linguini, Riley's dad from Inside Out, and Al from Toy Story 2.
Sure.
That got circulated for years, and then people would send it to me and be like, I bet you haven't seen this yet. That one got old. There was the one recently that was every podcast is this,
Mm-hmm.
and it's Sully and Mike.
Right. That's
That
pretty
one
good.
really feels
That's
like it
pretty
nailed
good.
us to a cross.
Yeah.
That one's
pretty good.
kind
I
of
am a bit of a
brutal.
Sully.
Yeah, I'm definitely a Mike,
You're
and
kidding.
I'm an Ernie, and you're a Bert.
For sure.
Yeah.
Number 4 at the box office.
Ernie's funny and innocent.
I love him, to be clear, but if someone was playing the trumpet in bed, I might have something to say about
That's
that.
so funny.
It is funny. It's a horror film.
Okay.
It's new this week.
Okay.
Bit of a cult sleeper hit.
Okay. Interesting.
It's opening to 6 million. It's gonna make like 20.
Mhm.
But it's sort of a launch for 2 actors.
Huh. It's a launch for 2 actors.
This is a classic movie you see as a teenager, like at a sleepover. When
Huh.
I'm a teenager.
Do they make sequels to this?
No.
No. It's a
Mm-mm.
dead end, but the 2 actors pop.
Yeah. It's basically like X with teenagers. X hit movie with teenagers.
I'm sorry. You're saying it's a soft remake of a different film, but with teenagers? It's not a remake of Ty West's X 20 years before.
No, that wouldn't make any sense.
That's why I was confused. Thank you for the clarification. Okay. So it's a remake of. Huh.
It's not a reboot. It's just this. That's the elevator pitch. This hit movie, but
Right.
with teens.
It's not like Cruel Intentions, but you're saying it's that kind of thing where it's like we're doing this type of story with teenagers.
It shares a star with Cruel Intentions. I'll tell you that much.
So is it a Sarah Michelle Gellar?
Wrong.
It's not a Reese.
It is a Reese.
Is it Freeway?
No,
What am I fucking forgetting here?
I don't know this movie. I'll
oh,
tell you this much.
It's called Fear.
It's called Fear.
The Wahlberg.
Talking about Inside Out. Mark Wahlberg. And have you never seen Reese Witherspoon? Have you never seen Fear?
No, I have. I get Fear and Freeway mixed up in my mind.
Fair enough. Have you seen Fear, Emma?
Never seen.
Okay. Well, it's good.
Sorry.
Fatal Attraction for teens. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Wahlberg's good in it.
Yeah.
Number 5 at the box office.
Mhm.
Okay. I've been waiting to get to this one.
Okay.
It's in its second week.
Okay.
It's a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sort of like a comedy with a gun. You know what I mean? Like where
Sure.
someone's like got a gun on the poster.
Yeah. A thing you complained about recently.
No, I did. Well, I know what I hate is like a comedy where like characters do fucking martial arts now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, and I don't mean like martial arts stars. I mean like
you like
Josh Duhamel, is
We're
like
talking about
doing martial
one
arts.
very specific.
Yeah, I'm
movie
talking about
here.
that movie.
What
I have-
you like movies starring a kung fool. Like you like a comedy.
Oh my god! If there's a kung fu, I'm all in. No, what I remember most about this movie is
Yeah.
it stars like he's an up and coming. He's a big comedy star of the 90s.
Okay.
The poster is in papyrus,
Oh boy.
and no one talks about this because no one remembers this movie.
Oh! I know exactly what film this is.
Okay, go ahead.
Fuck. I
It's
need
got
to
a
try to
long
get- I
title.
know. Is it? It's
Who's
it's,
the star?
It's Martin Lawrence
Correct.
and Lynn Whitfield.
Correct.
The movie. Did Martin Lawrence direct this one too?
Did he direct this movie? Yes, he sure did,
Thank you.
and he wrote it.
Okay. Is it called The Thin Line Between Love and Hate?
Yes, a thin line.
A thin line
love
between
and
love and
hate.
hate.
But like this was the poster that people
Yes.
put in theaters.
Whoa.
People saw
Describe
this.
it. Describe it.
This is
David,
the
describe it.
exact same thing as that graphic design is my passion
Yeah,
meme.
exactly.
It looks the
It's-
same.
Describe
It
this.
looks like a wedding invitation.
Yeah.
With a
bad
gun.
one.
A really
bad
bad.
one. No.
Someone didn't
Yes.
make an effort.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A Vistaprint wedding invitation.
It says Martin Lawrence and Lynn Whitfield. Lynn Whitfield is standing behind Martin Lawrence.
They're
She's got
both decked out in all white.
They're both
White
kind of in
background.
wedding outfits.
Their
Yes.
bodies kind of disappearing into the background.
Lynn Whitfield's got her arms around Martin Lawrence. Could be a hug or something more threatening because they're holding her arms are holding a pistol, a handgun, and she's making a sexy face. She's going like.
Now describe Martin Lawrence's face.
He's a little cocked. His head's cocked 15 degrees, right? And he's going, what? I mean, how else would you describe it?
Yeah.
He's like, she's got a what?
And Lawrence Whitfield and A Thin Line Between Love and Hate are all in Papyrus. And then what is the tagline, David?
While some women are waiting to exhale, this one is ready to get even. Kind of a damp ending to that. Like where some women are waiting to exhale, I'm like, okay, are we going to make fun of one more movie title within this sentence?
I'm also like, it should be like a gun pun. It should be waiting to unload or something. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you've already plussed this poster like twice with that. This film was made for $8 million and it made $34 million. It was a hit.
It was a big deal.
Nightclub manager Darnell White, played by Martin Lawrence, is a perpetual playboy and hopeless male chauvinist. He works at a nightclub called Chocolate City and aspires to be the owner. And Regina King plays his childhood sweetheart, and Lynn Whitfield plays Brandy Webb, a beautiful and wealthy woman, but she's a femme fatale.
I'm always fascinated by people like that, where it's like, I only had one story to tell. Martin Lawrence is a filmmaker. He was like, I had to write and direct this movie. I needed to get it off my chest, and then I had no interest ever.
Did he never direct again?
I don't think so.
Maybe one of his specials?
I don't know. I don't think he directed Run Tell Dat.
Oh, I remember Run Tell Dat.
Do you remember that year at the MTV Music Awards?
Go on.
This
is his only directing credit.
Thank you. This is what I'm saying.
Any medium whatsoever. Yes.
Like Eddie Murphy talks about Harlem Nights. He's like, I didn't like that. I think directing sucks. I never wanted to do it again.
Right.
Then there are people like Charles Lawton, where it was like, my movie was seen as a failure. No one would let me do it again. Martin Lawrence just had one story he was dying to get off his chest.
Some women are waiting to exhale.
From the pen of Martin Lawrence. Whoever was hosting the MTV Music Awards that year, it might have been Jimmy Fallon.
Okay.
They were like, oh, the show, it's not doing, there hasn't been anything funny in a while.
Okay.
The laughs are dropping. Oh boy. And they run backstage, and there's a glass case that says break in case of emergency with a little hammer. And it's Martin Lawrence inside.
And he's just ready to do 10 minutes.
And they break the glass, and Lawrence comes out and does 10 minutes because MTV was about to release Run Tell Dat.
I remember Run Tell Dat was one of those things where it was like, it has the most offensive words per minute of any movie ever.
It has the most uses. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Run Tell Dat.
Run Tell Dat.
Yeah. Well, that's the top 5 of the box office. You've also got Sergeant Bilko.
Ben?
Funny.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. You're not just playing it for the bit or whatever.
I mean, I don't remember it.
Okay. I'm like, see, I felt like he wasn't that passionate.
No, it was worth pushing back on that one. That's like the most beloved, like, Bilko, Phil Silver show is like, every comedian was like, that's the best comedy writing of all time.
I know. It's like they're obsessed. I know.
And then they put everyone in that movie. It's Phil Hartman, it's Dan Aykroyd, and it's Steve Martin. I remember my mom coming back from seeing it. I'm the biggest Steve Martin fan in the world.
Chris Rock's in that movie.
Everyone is in that movie.
Yeah.
And she was just like abysmal, devoid of laughter.
Yeah. Not good. Never seen it.
I thought we were talking about. See, I always get it mixed up.
You
with
like Down
Damon
Periscope
Wayans.
and McHale's Navy. You like Renaissance Man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Major Payne.
Major Payne. See,
Yes.
that's what I was.
You
thinking.
like all the other military comedies of the time.
Yeah, because they're kind of like, goofier.
And also, it's usually an authority figure has to come into conflict with
in the army now, obviously.
Is that the Pauly Shore one?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We should do a Pauly Shore series.
Yeah, we'll do Pauly Shore on Patreon.
Biodome is a fucking classic.
I think I've talked about, but there's the Pauly Shore on Joe Rogan interview where he's like, so what happened, man? What happened to your movie career? And he's like, I don't know. They just took it away from me. And he's like, but come on, man. You gotta
After 7 flops in a row,
David? Rogan's like, come on, man. Like, what happened? And he was like, because I was like really big, man. I was making all these movies and stuff. And he was like, yeah, I mean, you were like one of the big comedy stars. And he was like, no, I was like the only one. I was the only one who got to make movies. And then he'll be like, what about that other stand-up? And I was like, he made some movies, but I made a lot of movies. And Rogan's like, so then what ended your run? And he's like, I don't know. I have no idea. We made the first movie. It was a hit. We made the next movie. It made a lot less money. We made a movie after that. It made less money. Movie after that didn't do so well. Movie after that, big drop at the box office. And then at some point they stopped letting me make movies. I'm like, you've acknowledged they're all on a downward trajectory.
He had like 7 strikes at the plate.
Right.
Yeah.
And Rogan's like, so it sounds like they stopped making money. I was like, I don't know. You tell me. No one ever gave me an answer.
Anyway.
We did it.
We did it.
Yeah, that's it. Executive decision, Flirting with Disaster, Oliver and Company. Re-release.
Yeah.
Is it a good movie?
I mean, I haven't seen it since I was 6.
I think it's good. Co-written by James Mangold.
Huh. It's got Billy Joel in it, right?
Yeah, he plays Dodger.
That's fun.
Yeah. It's got kind of a stack.
I haven't seen that movie
cast.
since I was like -4 years
Billy
old.
Joel, Bette Midler.
Cheech Marin.
Yep. Dom DeLuise?
Joey Lawrence from
Joey Lawrence. Yeah.
Blossom.
Wow.
Remember Blossom? Blossom was me power off on the TV.
Yeah.
That fucking credits would start and I'd be like, all right, guys, dinner time for David. I don't want to watch
It's funny because the younger generation just has the autoplay thing. But there was something about like knowing I like this show at this time, and I always see the first 35 seconds of this show before I turn the TV off, and I'll never watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blossom.
Anyway, I don't know. Emma, any final thoughts on Bugs?
I mean, how many? Do we have a few more hours?
Go on, Emma. Bug it up.
I mean, they're the best, aren't they? They're so fun. I love them.
Where does this rank in the Bug canon for you of Bug films?
Oh, this is like in the top, of course. Yeah,
Okay,
this
what
is
else?
great. This
I
is
mean, you just watched Prince of
a
Darkness.
bug celebration. Yeah, there's a lot of bugs in that movie.
Well, the guy turns into bugs.
Where do you stand
Honey,
on
I Shrunk the Kid is a really big
Anti
bug movie.
Yep.
Where do you stand on Bugs Life and Ants?
I've actually never seen Ants
Wow.
because I think like they say like bad words in it, and my mom was like, "You can't see them.
Almost
They say
Ants
bad
is
words in
grown
it."
up.
Yeah, they say bad words like therapy.
My mom didn't want me to
And
know
like
about that.
starring Woody Allen.
The worst words in the English language. Bugs Life you like though?
Bugs Life, love.
Yeah. Bugs Life I think like has the same thing as this where it's like a great ensemble cast of
Yeah.
different bugs
Yeah.
with very defined character types and great performance.
It's exciting to see the new ones when they appear. I always think about that scene where they go to the big city and there's a daddy longlegs walking above them.
Did you've rewatched it recently?
I had a
right?
good time.
The Bug
Yeah.
City stuff is so good.
It is. It just doesn't look that good. The movie, you do feel like much more than Toy Story. The like,
They
oh
push
shit,
the
yeah,
limits.
like
It's creepier.
it's still primitive here, right?
Yeah.
But there's stuff about it I really liked, and like the plot is fun. Like
Yeah.
the acting troupe thing is fun.
Emma, thank you for being here. Thank you for talking about bugs.
Thank you for having me. That's all I'm here for.
That's not all you're here for. It's the first time after 6 appearances between Main Feed and Patreon that you've explicitly come on to talk about bugs.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we'll get bugs again.
Yeah.
Bugs.
I don't know when. David
I don't know.
eyeballing. I don't know.
I'm
when
eyeballing
bugs
the
movies are
schedule. I'm
coming.
not seeing any bugs.
I'm not seeing
but-
any bugs on the
yeah.
horizon. Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you to Marie Barty for our social media, helping to produce the show. Thank you to Alex Barron, AJ McKeon for our editing, JJ Birch for our research, Leigh Montgomery and the Great American Novel for our theme song, Pat Reynolds and Joe Bowen for our artwork. You can go to blankcheckpod.com for links to some real nerdy shit, including our Patreon Blank Check special features, where we are doing things that we are currently deciding because we're recording this episode a little bit in advance. No, we're doing the National Treasures.
Mhm.
That's what's going on here.
Yep.
This
National
month.
Treasure
National
1
Treasures.
already landed, and then coming up is Talking the Walk, and
Talking
then,
the Walk, and then the
National Treasure
Book of Secrets. Cracking open the Book of Secrets.
That's right.
You like that book?
Absolutely.
Great.
It's so good.
It's filled with
That
secrets.
movie's so good.
Yeah.
They're
Ben
gonna
doesn't even
kidnap the
know.
president of the United States.
Ben doesn't know how much that movie is about conspiracy theories.
He takes Ed
That's-
Harris into the mountain.
Yep.
That's true, though, Ben. It's got some real Illuminati shit going on. The
Oh,
National
yeah.
Treasures.
The
yeah.
president's secret book
Yeah.
that he writes all the secrets in.
The fucking pyramid on the back of the dollar bill.
I
Hello?
need to know these secrets.
Book of Secrets, I guess, does not skimp on the amount of secret
Secrets?
book material.
No. It's not some Hellboy 2 the Golden Army shit.
It's Green. What's his name? The president.
Bruce Greenwood.
Bruce
Greenwood.
Greenwood.
Stand.
Fucking
We
snack
stand.
and a half.
God,
We stand.
We were just talking about him on Dr. Sleep.
he's so good.
Okay. All right. We're done. Next week, Monkey Bone.
Next week, Monkey Bone. David's banging the table.
I don't
Have you
really-
ever seen it?
No.
I think
I remember I was so hyped.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck,
And
Brandon
then
Fraser and this, I'm there. And
critics
then
salvaged it.
right.
I have always maintained that it's good. I have not watched it in 15 years. I'm very eager to rewatch. But at the time, I was America's preeminent monkey bone defender.
Yeah, you were a boner.
I was a boner. And next week, we're all going to get boned.
Yep. Great.
Okay.
Goodbye.
And as always,
Yes.
Bugs.
Books.
Bugs.
Books.